Hello, welcome, sleepyheads. So today's video is going to be a compilation of posts that I've already read from Reddit. We're going to kick off the video with a fresh post, and then the rest of the video will be a compilation of posts we've already read. It will be nice and long and perfect for something to listen to fall asleep to. So if that sounds like your kind of thing, stick around and enjoy, and sweet dreams. So, starting us off, am I the butthole for what I said to my aunt? I, 21, bought my cousin, 16, a romance novel as a birthday present. It's part of her favourite book series. My aunt took one look at the book cover, snorted, and said, "No way a fat girl like that gets a cute boy like him." My cousin looked down at her own body. She's always been self conscious and confided in me that she wishes she was as slender as her sisters, my other cousins. Told me her mum, my aunt, always told her she should lose weight. She looked at me the way she does when she is at a loss for words and wants me to help out, so I told my aunt not everyone is shallow. My aunt got upset and my mum told me I should apologise and that there was no reason for me to imply that my aunt is shallow. But she is. She is shallow. And nasty to her own daughter. What a horror. So are they the butthole in the commenters' eyes? Let's find out. A strange peg. We are not going to question that username. We're just going to roll with it, okay? Not the butthole, as only shallow and ignorant people do not know that fat shaming rarely helped anyone, which is why bullies do it on purpose. So, OP, you actually chose the lesser of two words to mention, and you didn't actually call her shallow. Aunt saw a shoe that fit and put it on. Exactly. Update edit as a commenter advised, bullies helped them. See, no, bullies don't help people. Maybe once in a blue moon, someone might be like, oh yeah, bullies helped me because they egged me on to change my life and blah, blah, blah. But 9 times out of 10, bullies just ruin people and ruin their lives and ruin their mental health. So, no, don't ever sit there and justify bullying someone because you believe that you're going to help them be better eventually one day, because it doesn't make you a nice person, it makes you a giant bellend. And then someone replied, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce the username, sorry. I know I'm going to get it wrong. This, OP, not the butthole, very much. Thank you for standing up for your cousin. You did not call your aunt shallow. You may have implied it, but it was a general statement. She called herself shallow. Exactly, you didn't say, "Aunt, you are a shallow, massive piece of excrement." You said, "Well, not everyone is as shallow," or something along those lines. It was something along those lines, wasn't it? Yeah, not everyone is shallow. So she basically knew she was being shallow and took offense to it. That is her problem and not yours. So, first post of the day says, "Am I the butthole for not ordering my boyfriend food of his choice?" I, F21, have been going out with my boyfriend, male 21, for 2 months now. He's in engineering and I'm in business. He had a paid partnership this summer that paid him thousands of dollars each month. God, that must be nice. Meanwhile, my internship was free. I've come to notice that after he pays for one dinner or meal, he conveniently leaves his wallet and has zero battery when we have to eat out or order restaurant food the next time, and I have to pay for it. I have zero problem paying for food after he has paid for the previous meal, but he doesn't even let me offer and imposes a sort of avoidable situation at me as to why he can't pay for the particular meal and I have to pay for it. Okay, I mean, it's not too bad, give or take, it's fine, being equals and whatnot. I personally like to pay my fair share, so I will either go halves, or me and my friend, to save time and faffing at the till, we tend to just, she pays one, I pay one whenever we go out for food. So she'll pay for one meal and then the next time we go out I pay, and we do it that way because it just cuts out a load of palaver of trying to split the bill and what have you, which I think is a good thing to do. I thought I was overthinking, but yesterday on our 2 month mark, he was like, "I want to have a gourmet burger, not Wendy's." I thought he was going to pay for the food delivery, but then this voice inside me said, worst case scenario, I have to pay for our 2 month dinner, which was fine because I was going to offer to pay anyway, but I just thought that, usually it's the guy who pays for big meals. No. Anyways, he conveniently told me I'm at 1% battery right now. 3 hours before we ordered food online. When he told me that, I could see whatever he told me 3 hours later coming from a mile away. I told him to charge his phone ASAP because he was at home and his charger was right next to us. I offered to even give him his burger. He said no. Instead, He proceeded to play a game on his phone, causing it to die. Then after 3 hours, he said, "Babe, you'll have to order food today. I'm out of energy." I expected that from a mile away, and then he was fully expecting me to pay for his $30 burger. $30? That is insane. I don't know what the conversion rate to pounds would be, but that seems like a lot, even without converting it. Okay. When he came up with that lame excuse to test that theory out, I said, "I'm too tired. I'm tired too. Not in the mood to eat." Lie. Right after I said that, he was literally not the same person anymore. He was full of energy and even told me to stay awake. The night has just started. I was right. I was just an excuse not to spend any money. The worst part is, I was going to offer ordering it anyways, but I just wanted to test my theory, and I was supposedly right. I was hungry anyways, and I wasn't just going to rely on him to get me anything. I ended up ordering a plain cheese pizza, because I ain't buying the man a gourmet burger like I originally planned to, if need be, because he has done this so many times before. Like, he knew we were going to eat and has conveniently forgotten his wallet and phone so many times. Am I the butthole for not ordering my boyfriend the food of his choice? No. I think you're both just being daft. He needs to just say, "Look, I don't want to pay every time. I want to do you pay, I pay." He needs to say ahead of time if he doesn't want to pay, because he knows that obviously the other time you let him pay. You need to say to him, if you don't want to pay, "I'm not paying for this, by the way. So either we cook at home or you pay." But to be honest, if he's paying some, you should be paying some. But at the same time, he shouldn't be waiting to have a $30 burger until it's your turn to pay. So to be honest, I think you just need to communicate a bit better. That seems to be the problem here. He is really, really sweet, but this is the only problem I have. He is very nice otherwise, and he does pay for meals. It's for subsequent meals when he acts like this. Edit plus mini update. Hey guys, I do agree that I'm being sort of immature as well. I did send him a text upon your suggestion. "Hey babe, don't get mad, but I've been observing something. You know, I don't mind paying for our meals or taking turns paying, right? I've been feeling like you've been trying to create a reason you can't pay, maybe so as not to hurt my feelings. If so, I'd prefer it if you just ask me to cover this one, like beginning of us hanging out on that specific day, or wait for me to offer. Like, I have no problem. What do you think?" Yeah, absolutely. Totally fair. Like, if you just say, "Look, if you want me to pay, just say. If you're expecting me to pay, tell me ahead of time so I know." Nobody likes unexpected, expenses coming up out of nowhere. Again, especially not a $30 bloody burger. That is insane. So yeah, if he expects her to pay, he needs to say, but she also needs to just pull up a big girl pants and be like, "Look, if you want me to pay for anything, you need to tell me ahead of time. You earn more, I earn less, so I need to know so I can prepare financially to pay for it. It's not a problem, but I just need to know, because when I'm not expecting it, it's a bit of a kick in the pants." And that's all she needs to say, really. Okay, this one. Am I the butthole for picking up my neighbour's lingerie? Okay. I would love to know why you were messing with your neighbour's lingerie, so let's have a read. So there's this couple who lives across the road from me, as in our balconies face each other on the floor above mine. Now, ever since they moved in, I've noticed the wife tends to do her laundry typically on the same day, and she has her husband take it out on their balcony to dry once it's finished. Now, I don't know if he's just ignorant or just doesn't care, but he sort of just drapes the clothes over the railing rather than hanging them up properly. What ends up happening is that smaller and thinner pieces of clothing, like lingerie, bras and underwear and whatnot, end up falling off the railing, where the wind then carries them to my balcony. Delightful. Even so, mistakes happen, so I take any that fell inside, make sure they get properly dried, and hold on to them until I can awkwardly return them the next morning. The wife is obviously embarrassed, but thankful towards me for not letting her lingerie get lost. Fast forward many months, and this is still happening like clockwork on a weekly basis. Me and the wife are now pretty much on an unofficial schedule that she comes by my apartment to pick up her lingerie in the morning after laundry day. It doesn't matter how many times she tells her husband to fix the problem, it never changes. She works during the time they need to be hanged, so she can't do it herself. Honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that it's not the wife's fault, I would just be slinging them back off the balcony onto the floor down below. I wouldn't keep bringing them in and flaming drying their laundry. You are basically a laundry service for this woman now. Now, after all this, I run into her husband one afternoon and he's annoyed at me. He didn't shout, more sharply worded, but he made his point clear. He doesn't like what I've been doing. I shouldn't be touching his wife's lingerie, let alone keeping it overnight in my apartment. Yeah, I get that that's weird, and I feel like that's a bit weird too. I'd just chuck it back over the balcony and be like, no, I'm not dealing with this. This is someone's underwear. But at the same time, if he's not going to hang it up properly, then what does he expect? Anyway, according to him, me taking a married woman's intimate clothing is creepy and violating, and if I was really just returning it, I wouldn't keep it overnight and instead come to their apartment late at night and return it immediately. He also spent a while complaining? No, that's not right, is it? Complaining makes more sense, so I'm going to say that. I'm sure that's what they meant. That his wife was giving him a hard time for how he was hanging the clothes thanks to me, calling it an a-hole move on my part. I don't believe I'm the a-hole in this situation. I'm the one making up for his mistake and returning the lingerie to its owner at my earliest convenience, like a good neighbour should do. I get that it's a very intimate item, but I feel like I'm innocent here. Am I the a-hole? No. It is a bit weird that you keep it and dry it for them. I wouldn't even do that. I would just sling it over the side and be like, that's not my monkeys, not my circus. I ain't touching that with a 10-foot barge pole, because it does come across a little odd that you're keeping their undercrackers, but not an a-hole, just kind of doing a bit too much, I'd say. Just chuck him over the side and have done with. He'll soon learn then when she's beating him over the head with them for losing her underwear and letting it fall to the floor below. That's what I would do, not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my sister help in anything, ever? I, 16F, have one sister, 15. She has a temper and it makes her mean. When we were younger, it was over stuff that she believed I could do that she couldn't. But there was nothing. She'd say I got to do more extracurriculars than her, but we each had one. I was in a music class after school for 5 years, and she did dance. My classes had more breaks than hers did, but we still each had one each. She'd get so mad at me for having more, and sometimes when I'd get back from class when she was on break, I'd come home to her dumping all my stuff all over the room. One time, she threw stuff from the top of the stairs when Dad and I were coming in the door, and she broke a lot of toys. Your sister sounds like a brat. I was jealous that Mum and Dad bought her more stuff at Christmas when we were younger. At the time, I thought they loved her more, but the stuff all added up to the same amount. I got less because my individual gifts cost more. But when my sister was mean, I'd argue that she got more than me, and she'd still say that I got to do more stuff, and it wasn't fair. Oh, I remember those days when we were younger, me and my siblings, and I'd be sitting there, and we all compare what each other's got. When we chose our own presents, by the way, we were given an amount of money that we could have, and then we'd choose a load of things, and we'd get that, you know, that added up to that amount of money. So we all got the same, but sometimes, yeah, it did look like one of us had a bit more than the other, and oh, did it cause some scraps. When I was 10, she broke my guitar because she still believed I did more extracurriculars. My parents couldn't afford to replace it back then, and I decided to quit music lessons because I didn't like other instruments as much, except piano, but that was more expensive to learn, and we never owned a piano, so practice was impossible. I hated her so much for it, but she would act so smug about it. She rubbed it in my face for years. When I got angry enough, I'd tell her I wish she wasn't my sister and I hated her, and she'd say the same. Ah, sibling rivalry. I started my period when I was 11, and I have endometriosis. Only diagnosed this year, which causes me issues. I bleed a lot and I have so much pain. My sister started calling me gross and would tell people at school about how gross I am, and she'd tell people about bleeding accidents I had. That is not nice. Like, it's supposed to be one of the most painful things you can have, endometriosis. It's absolute agony. People have hysterectomies to get away from the pain. Like, that's how bad it is. This is an ongoing problem, and our parents punish her for it, and they try to make us talk our issues out, but it's a waste of time. They discipline me too if I express that I hate her. I try not to say it, but it's not a lie when I say it. I do hate her, and I'm not ashamed of hating the person who tries to make home and school hell for me. I mean, I could understand why, if you felt like you're basically being bullied at home, why you'd feel like that. And it is not a nice condition to have at all. But, you know, it's completely natural. Like, anyone taking the mick out of you for that is an idiot. There are times my sister has needed help and I ignored it and did nothing, which came up a couple of days ago because my parents wanted me to tutor my sister in maths. She's always struggled with math, but now she's failing it and they want me to help her, so she doesn't end up failing math all the way through high school. But I refused. I told them I would take them punishing me over helping her. My parents brought up how I never help my sister and how she might bully me sometimes, but we're sisters and we should love each other. And as the older sister, I should try to help when I can. I told them I'd take being punished. They told me I was being so stubborn and they've been mad at me the last couple of days. Am I the a-hole? No, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. At the end of the day, if the problems are that bad that you both cannot get along to this degree, that she's bullying you, trying to get you bullied at school, your parents really need to be stepping in and sorting out some like family therapy or something, sorting out her attitude and making sure she's not doing those things, like punishing her severely, you know. Make sure that she, no, not like punish severely, we're not talking corporal punishment, but you know what I mean, like harsh punishments, like the phone gets taken away or something, to make sure that it stops, because, you know, it's not on. I think the onus is on the parents here to sort this out, because it definitely sounds like a very toxic environment. But no, definitely not the a-hole for not wanting to help, because let's be honest, she sounds like she makes your life quite difficult quite often. Am I the butthole for not inviting all of my friend group to Friendsgiving this year? So I, 27F, am from a European country, but I've always loved the idea of Friendsgiving, and that's why I've been hosting one every year for the last Saturday of November for the last 5 years. I used to do it at my ex-boyfriend's house, let's call him Dave, because it's more spacious than my apartment. Beginning of last year, 2023, me and Dave broke up, and a couple months later he started dating another girl in our friend group, let's call her Sarah. That's kind of messy. Fast forward to October 24th, 2023, a day before I'm supposed to send my invites. For context, I always send invites digitally exactly a month in advance just to make sure everyone saves the date. We all receive a message for Friendsgiving dinner at Dave and Sarah's on the last Saturday of November. I called him to ask him if it was a joke, and he replied to me that he wanted to continue hosting Friendsgiving. Mind you, the idea was mine, and I was the one doing all the work every year, so it never occurred to me that he would want to make it. I asked him if he could do his dinner another weekend, since Friendsgiving was kind of my thing, not only that, but also on the specific date. He told me no, and tried to gaslight me into thinking that we always had to work on it 50-50, so it was much a thing of his as it was mine. I am reading this all ass backwards, but I do apologise. I spoke with my sister and decided to send my invites the next day and continue with everything as planned. This caused a bit of tension in my friend group. I never wanted to start any trouble, so I just commented my point of view on the matter with those who asked me. Some of my friends sided with me and ended up coming to my dinner, but others said that I was being childish about it and that I should let Dave and Sarah made that year's dinner. Because of that, some of my friends ended up dropping and invited some of my sister's friends that I've also known for a long time. And it turned out being the best Friendsgiving I ever hosted. I think Dave's being a bit of an asshole, to be honest. I think he's done that on purpose. Especially if you were the one doing all the work and then all of a sudden he's like, no, it was 50-50. It was my thing too. I think Dave and Sarah are being a bit petty. I think they need to wind their necks in just a little bit. Fast forward to the 28th of this year, Dave and Sarah have sent messages saying they are doing a Friendsgiving dinner at their house on, you guessed it, the last Saturday in November. They are absolutely doing it on purpose to be petty. They've got to be. I've replied saying I already made plans, and on the 29th I sent my invites. This time only to the people that came last year to my dinner. Fair. So this last couple of days I've been receiving messages from the rest of the friend group that I haven't invited asking why they haven't received one. I've explained to them that my apartment doesn't have space to host more people than the ones I did last year, which is true. Since they would prefer to go to Dave and Sarah's last year, I assumed they would do the same. Also, I would love to have only last year's people since one, they were the ones who show me that they are true friends of mine, which is kind of the point of Friendsgiving. Fair. 2, it was one of those rare occasions where you introduce 2 different groups of people and everyone clicks instantly. Oh, so fair, so fair. If the other guys didn't want to come last year, why would you assume they want to come this year? You wouldn't, would you? So, am I the asshole for not inviting everyone? P.S. Sorry if there are any grammatical or vocabulary mistakes. English is not my first language. I did wonder, because it was a little difficult to read, I'm not going to lie. Probably hear me a few times tripping over my own tongue there, and I do that anyway, to be quite honest with you. Edit. Me and Dave have very different styles when it comes to hosting. I like to be a bit over the top and have everything ready for when people arrive, whereas he is more of the type of person that will let us gather at his house, but everyone has to contribute and help. So I think last year's people were expecting everything to be set up like other years, and when they saw it was not the case, ended up disappointed. Yeah, I'm the same. If I ever have people over, which is rare because I don't really enjoy having a lot of people in my house, but say if I had like family over, I like to get everything done and prepared. I don't like people to be getting in the way and trying to help me either, because I know where everything is. I know how I do everything, so I like to do it all my way. So totally get that. And yeah, I think it's nicer for the guests as well. If you walk in, everything's set up, it feels really inviting. You feel like they've made such an effort for you, and it makes you feel kind of special, doesn't it, if someone's put that effort in. So if they went to Dave's last year and Dave did not put any effort in and he just kind of expected everyone to chip in and help, they clearly got a little bit butthurt, and then they thought, oh, well, we'll just go to hers next time. We will go to hers. And, you know, it doesn't work like that, does it? Because if you pick one side, this is the problem with dating in friendship groups. If you bring someone from the outside in, when you break up, they kind of go back to the outside. However, if you're all dating each other in one big friendship group, it gets messy, clearly. Dave really was a butthole for dating someone else in the friendship group in the first place, and the friend also huge butthole for dating your ex. Like, I don't know how close you and that Sarah were, but that's no-go territory as well. So no, not the butthole, and they can get stood on, and they cut their nose off to spite their face. So now they have to go to Dave's crappy party. Boo-hoo. You keep doing you, and it sounds like you've got a good new friend group anyway, so I'd stick with those. So next one, am I the butthole for not helping my co-worker outside of work? So here's what's going on. I, 28F, work as a teacher, and a few weeks ago, a co-worker started asking me for favours outside of work hours. It started off innocently enough. She needed a ride home one day since her car was in the shop. I agreed because it wasn't far out my way, and I figured it was just a one-time thing. But since then, the requests have kept coming. Now, it's not just that she keeps asking for rides, she asked me to watch her pet for the weekend and even wanted me to pick up some stuff that she left at work when she couldn't make it in. As a teacher, my schedule is pretty full even outside of the classroom, and I need that time to unwind and prep for the next day. Yesterday, I finally told her I couldn't keep helping out with these extra things. I tried to be polite and explain that my own schedule's pretty packed, but she seemed really put off. She even muttered that she thought we were friends, which made me feel guilty. But at the same time, I feel it's important to have boundaries outside of work, especially when my job itself demands so much of my time and energy. So, am I the butthole for saying no to helping her with personal errands? I get that maybe she doesn't have a lot of support around, but I also feel like it's unfair to expect this kind of help just because we work together. No, I don't think you are the butthole. I think it's absolutely fine to say, look, I cannot be filling your cup and deserting my own. I need to have time to myself. I also have a lot of stuff to do after work. It's fair enough. No, and you don't owe your co-workers anything outside of work anyway. It's fine to be friends, but also, even with friends, you shouldn't just keep taking from your friends. It's supposed to be give and take if you are actual close friends outside of work. So no, definitely not. Good on you for putting in some boundaries. My neighbour is currently in the room that is adjacent to mine, obviously, but in her house, and these walls are about as useful as a chocolate fire guard for keeping noise out, so I really hope she can't hear me just like whittering onto myself. She's going to think I've gone insane. Now my social anxiety is playing up, and I'm just like, oh, it's going to be hard to record myself now. If I didn't read badly enough before. Anyway, big girl pants on. So am I the butthole for reporting the mail carrier for making a report on the mail carrier? Wait. Add a little just to make it make sense for myself. Am I the butthole for reporting the mail carrier? I'm assuming. I think that's just a typo. There is a mail carrier in our area that tried to ask me out. I declined but was polite about it. Ever since then, he has been rude, slamming the mailbox, slamming the gate. When I do cross paths with him, his attitude is vile, so I try my best to just ignore him. I let it all slide until he took back a package that did not even require my signature. I rescheduled the delivery and filed a complaint, including all of his microaggressions. That only added fuel to his anger as he returned more hostile than before. Plus, I noticed him leaning into my window 2 days after I reported him. Report him to the police, not the mail company. Jesus. Since then, some of the other carriers, he only shows up some days now, have been doing similar things, such as slamming the gate, slamming the mailbox, and one carrier kicked my Uber Eats order. Also, a letter for my new CC was partially open, and I also noticed 3 checks for my light bills that were sent out never arrived. Of course, I will give the benefit of the doubt, but I have a feeling that he badmouthed me to his postal office. Am I the butthole for reporting the guy? I honestly think he feels rejected, and there must be something else going on in his life, and he's seeking an easy target to bother. Did I do something wrong here or handle this incorrectly? I'm stuck on what to do now because it feels like I'm being bullied by my local post office, and it kind of seems like you are. Now, obviously, I would say, like, slamming gates, slamming the thingy, some people are just really heavy-handed, but full on kicking your Uber Eats, like, that's insane. No, I wouldn't just report him to the mail office or post office, whatever you would call it. I would report him to the police because leaning into your window is scary. Kicking your food and tampering with your food is concerning, and then making other people do it as well. God knows what he's told them. But no, I would report it, just straight report it to the police, because that is worrying and very concerning. Definitely not the butthole for making a report. Make more reports, because I would just keep reporting every time there's an incident. They're going to get so fed up that they will start cracking down on them. I guarantee you that. And yeah, report the original one to the police, because that is absolutely crackers. Am I the butthole for not paying my fiance or her parents' rent? My fiance, 26F, invited me, 23M, to live with her last March. At the time, I was working as a live-in nurse, and I was reluctant to leave my position, in part because of the 3 board and room. However, my fiance continued asking me to move in and made it clear that she was offering for me to live with her at her place rent-free. She herself does not pay any rent or utilities at her apartment since it's owned by her parents. The place has a market value of around €1,000 monthly, and utilities Wi-Fi come to around €100 monthly. Eventually, I agreed, and we decided that I would pay for all of our groceries around €400 monthly, since after all, I wasn't paying any rent. That seems very fair. If your fiance's not paying any rent, then, you know, why would you pay rent? You'd just pay the bills. Over the past 6 months, we've also used a car owned by her parents about 6 times for various errands, weekend trips. On all trips, we split the costs of gas. The car sits in a garage that's worth about €300 monthly, which again, neither of us pay for. A bit more info, I'm an expat working as a nursing assistant where I make €1,200 monthly. My fiancé is an unemployed writer who has 0 income, but also spends next to nothing on living expenses. For the first few months, this arrangement worked for us, but after a while, my fiancé started to make more comments about how it's her place and I live here rent-free. Now, after 6 months, she is insisting that I pay rent to her parents or put money into a fund that can be used for her to rent in the future. What? She continues to live in the apartment without paying any rent to her parents, and her parents have expressed no concerns about me living there. Oh, she wants to make money off you, I see. My fiancé asserts that she wouldn't be living in the apartment if not for me. She would rather be homeless, which she has done before, or she would find the cheapest apartment possible. It's only because I'm in her life that she continues to live in this apartment, which she feels damages both her pride and her standing with her family. Go and get a job then, dear. I'm hurt by her insistence, and it seems like she wants me to provide for her financially, and it feels unfair that she would want me to pay rent on a place where she is living for free. I've suggested that we find a different apartment in a cheaper area and split the rent, but she can't afford to move anywhere else. What do you think, Reddit? Am I the butthole for not wanting to pay her rent? There we go. That was difficult. No, absolutely not. She just basically wants you to fund her lifestyle. And I find it worrying that she says she would put it in a money pot for her to rent in the future. So what, is she planning on binning you off in the future? And then using your money to pay her way? If her parents, who own the place, are not concerned about you paying rent, you don't need to pay rent. If they don't mind, it's their place. It's their place to say whether you need to pay rent. If they don't mind, no, doesn't matter. You're not the butthole for not paying rent. She, however, seems like a leech. She needs to go and get a job. I understand that she says she's a writer, but if you're not making an income from it, then unfortunately you need to find a job to subsidize your expenses until you start making money off it. Like, that's how a lot of writers do it. They work full-time jobs and then write in their spare time, and then when, you know, their books become successful, then they can take that and work less and then eventually make writing their full-time job. But until you can do that, she needs to get a job. She basically wants to live off you, and it's gross. Oh, also, just adding in, if it were me, she'd be going in the bin, because she sounds like a right knobhead, to be quite fair. Am I the asshole for not referring to my mother as mum in my thesis dedication? My mother's name is Monica. Everyone knows her as Mon, and that's what my dad always calls her. I guess that because Mon and Mum are so close, both my brother and I grew up calling her Mon around the house. I vaguely remember she trying to make us call her Mum when we were little, but we were so used to it that there was no point, and I assumed she eventually realised we mean it as a term of endearment, even though once in a while she still reprimand us for introducing her to a friend like this is Mon. Here's where we had an issue. I published my graduation thesis and finally got around to give my parents a copy. They're included in the dedication precisely as to Dad and Mon, plus some other acknowledgements. When she went over it, she was like, "Why did you call me Mon here? You called your dad Dad, and it makes it seem like you don't have a mother and you're talking about your father's wife." I was shocked by her reaction. Why does she care what others think? Since we both know I'm referring to her and I clearly wasn't trying to snub her in any way. She took the chance of venting about how she's the only mother who never gets to be called Mum, and that my brother and I never gave a damn about her feelings. I mean, honestly, she hadn't brought this up in the last 20 years. She had. Am I the butthole in this situation? Yeah, you are actually, because she has brought it up. You said so yourself. You've said, even though once in a while she still reprimanded us for introducing her to friends like this is Mon, and she tried to say to you quite a few times, "Call me Mum." And then yeah, no, I think that you are the butthole. Perhaps not knowingly, perhaps you genuinely thought that it was just jokey and she was okay with it. But some people, when they joke about, "Oh, you know, don't call me that, I'm Mum," like, they might say it in a jokey way, but it's because they probably feel uncomfortable about putting in boundaries. So if someone says, "Don't call me that, call me Mum, not Mon," then respect that. And yeah, it does sound a little bit like she's just your dad's wife in that dedication. So yeah, I think knowingly or unknowingly, you kind of are the butthole a little bit there, I'm afraid to say. Okay, last one then for today. Would I be the butthole if I told my friend I'm upset she bled on my bed and didn't tell me about it? Hi, I'm debating whether to say anything to my friend about this or not. Friend Jin flew in to visit her other friend and told me about it last minute. We're pretty good friends, but have been growing apart, so I offered to pick her up from the airport and hang out for a bit. I picked her up and we went back to my place when she asked if she could sleep over too. I wasn't expecting her to sleep over, but it's no problem because we have a guest room. The next morning I dropped her off to her other friend's place and said we should try to meet up before she left the next day. I never heard from her and I was changing the sheets in the guest bedroom and it seemed like she got her period. There was a lot of blood and went through to the mattress cover and stained the mattress. Okay. I'm really upset because she hasn't said anything about it, and if I knew earlier, I could have tried to clean it right away. We're going to have to buy a new mattress now because of this. Should I tell her about the situation? So when I first read the title, I was a bit like, well, yeah, you would be the butthole, because if it's a little bit of blood, you know, it happens. She might not have even known. If you bring it up, she'll be embarrassed, and, you know, just don't bother. You're going to embarrass her. However, if it was quite a lot, there's no way she wouldn't have known, and like you say, it's going to have seeped through to the mattress and possibly ruined it now. So she should have told you. To be honest, though, unless you're going to ask her to replace the mattress, I'm not sure what bringing it up would do. Like, I think it's a tricky one. I think if you're going to ask her to pay to replace the mattress, not because she initially bled on it, because you can't help that. I would never ask someone to replace a mattress if they bled on it. They can't help it. It happens. Maybe though, if they decided just to not tell me and it was a lot and clearly noticeable and they decided not to tell me and that meant that it was completely ruined and cleaning wasn't going to fix it. But tricky one. If you're going to ask her to replace it because you think she did it on purpose and decided not to tell you on purpose, although she may have been really embarrassed, maybe. Otherwise, considering you're clearly not that close of friends, because she's, like you said, you've been drifted apart, I would maybe just not say anything, personally. I don't know. Very tricky one. I would be interested to see what other people think on that one. So to start things off, am I the butthole for not telling my brother what happened between his girlfriend and I? Okay, so I really need to know if I'm the butthole in this situation. I, 16F, have an older brother, 20M, who lives in a different state. Recently, he has moved back to the state that I and the rest of the family live in. I came out to him pretty early on and told him that I like girls, and he has always been supportive. And a few weeks ago, I got invited to a party by some friends and met this really awesome girl, Maya, 18F, who was in her first year of college. Ended up sleeping together, and I haven't heard anything from her since, until my brother told me that he was getting pretty serious with a girl and he wanted to introduce her to me. I was happy for my brother, but a little hurt that he hadn't told me he was talking to someone. Anyways, we went out to brunch and he introduced me to Maya. I was shocked, obviously, but I wasn't going to tell my brother at a brunch with my family that I had had sex with his girlfriend. Yeah, could get a bit messy. Just to note that my brother and I are like carbon copies of each other. We look like twins, except he's got about 4 inches on me and his hair is slightly shorter. So she has a type, lol. Well, we finished brunch and parted ways. Here's where I might be the butthole. After brunch, I didn't tell my brother what happened. It didn't take long for the truth to come out though, because she confessed about a week after the brunch. Now my brother is super pissed at me and is calling me an ass, and I just want to know if I am. I just didn't want to ruin this for him because he has had a lot of trouble with being in relationships. Am I the butthole? Obviously you weren't going to tell him when you were out for brunch. That would be so awkward. But yeah, you probably should have told him afterwards, because these things always come out in the wash. It's always best to just say, because it's not like you did it on purpose. You didn't know that he was dating her. Was he dating her when she slept with you also? Because that is more like bad on her than it is you, if anything. But yeah, always just say, come clean straight away, because otherwise then you're then the bad guy to everyone because you're the one who kept it secret. So yeah, anybody else in a situation like that, just come clean so you don't end up being the butthole because you decided not to tell anyone. Am I the butthole for confronting my uncle about his disrespectful jokes? Okay, so over the weekend I attended my cousin's sweet 16 along with my family. During the party, I went to the bar to get a drink and I was eating tacos while drinking, and over the DJ mic is my uncle saying, "My name has another drink. And how's that drink?" I laughed it off as I deemed it as an innocent joke. Later that night, I got up to use the restroom, and in front of the trail to the restroom was my uncle and like 5 other men. My uncle starts telling me, "Oh no, don't fall," and things like "walk straight" and "can you walk," while laughing with these other men. Now keep in mind, I was walking perfectly fine. So I tell him, "Why do you keep making these jokes? Do you have something to say? Because if you do, you can say it to me in front of my dad." So I went up to my dad and explained his brother, my uncle, kept fucking with me, and that's when my cousin, my uncle's son, pulls me aside and tells me I need to respect my elders. No. This is where I get really mad. I told him I meet respect with respect exactly, and I don't care how old he is, to which he responds with, "You know how my dad is?" To which I said that doesn't make it okay. At this point I'm crying because my 30-something-year-old cousin, who I had had a good relationship with, is yelling at me. Then my uncle's other son got involved, and both my cousins were yelling at my dad, saying things that had nothing to do with the situation, like, "My dad, my uncle, has always helped all of his brothers, he's such a good person, and no one sees that." To which I responded with, "Shut the F up," and this literally pissed them off so bad. My dad's friend took me outside and said he didn't know what they were going to do, so it was safer for me to get away from the situation. My dad ended up telling my uncle he shouldn't have tried messing with me in the first place before we left. Am I the butthole? No, and this seems like a really over-the-top situation for what it is. Like, he should have, if you said, like, why'd you keep taking the piss out of me? Can you please stop? He should just go, oh, okay, sorry. You know, I was only joking, but sorry, you know. Like, why has he taken such absolute offence to the fact that you've asked him to stop? Well, to be honest, I'll tell you why. Because he knows he's in the wrong. And he's obviously a massive man baby who doesn't like being told that he's in the wrong. Like, a joke is only a joke and banter is only banter when the other person is also enjoying it. If the other person isn't enjoying it, it's no longer banter. You're just being an ass. Text, I'm 20 years old. I did not want to argue with my uncle, as at the time I felt that was disrespectful on my end. Therefore, I told my dad if he could tell him to leave me alone. Him trying to make me seem drunk in front of these men while I was on my own to the bathroom really left a bad taste in my mouth. And I think it's what triggered me to ask him what the issue was. Yeah, it's just really weird. It's really odd. And I completely agree with the rhetoric of you don't get respect until you earn it. I couldn't care less how old you are. If you're going to be a massive bellend, you're not going to get any respect from me. I don't care how old you are. All it means is you've been on this earth for way more than long enough to know better, if anything else. So, what does that say about them? Am I the butthole for setting boundaries on Thanksgiving dinner? Alright, so this is my first post, and I just want to know if I'm the a-hole for not wanting to go to a restaurant with my whole family. The holidays are very good at making everyone hate each other, aren't they? For context, I was told 2 months ago that myself, my mother, my stepfather, my stepsister, and her 2 children, 7 and 2, and possibly my cousin, will be going to a restaurant for Thanksgiving. So today I was just told by my mother that my stepsister's mother, who is raising my stepsister's 7-year-old, will be joining. Now, there's long history. In short, she's a narcissist and had caused my stepsister to develop borderline personality disorder. The issue I have is, since I turned 18, 1 year after the 7-year-old was born, I had made a clear boundary that I do not want to go to social settings that include my stepsister's mother, which my mother agreed is perfectly fine. Now, for Thanksgiving, she is telling me that I need to be an adult and put aside my boundaries of not wanting to be involved with my stepsister's mother because it is also the 7-year-old's birthday. Now I had explained to her that I will make it still a happy day and a happy occasion and will celebrate before the dinner, and then they can go to the dinner, and when they come back everyone can tell me how it was and I will still be happy and polite. For context to that, when I am around my stepsister's mother, I am miserable. Doesn't matter if she's being polite, it doesn't matter if she's being rude. I am just miserable in her presence, and I tend to make other people miserable while I'm in her presence. Am I the butthole for not wanting to go to Thanksgiving dinner? No, if you don't want to go, you don't want to go. Just don't go. I don't understand this whole thing of, oh, but your family, it's a family get together, we should all be there. No. You can all have a get together some other time if it bothers them that much. You don't need to be going. And if you hate that woman that much, then, you know, you're going to be sat there like a right misery guts, and it'll spoil it for everyone. And then they'll be on your back because you were sat there like a misery guts. So no, if you don't want to go, better not to go. I just don't understand why people think that, oh, just force you to come. Why? You're not going to enjoy it, so why? Yeah, no, definitely not the butthole. I just wouldn't go. I'd out and out refuse personally. Am I the butthole for snapping at my boyfriend after he targeted me in a game? IF was playing games with my boyfriend and his friends. We played a game where the goal is to make a controversial prompt that the players of the game will be split on. The more split it is, the more point. Some more background about me. This is important. I was adopted by other relatives and have lived with them since I was 1. My bio mother is dead and has been for my entire life. I don't remember anything about her. I do not like where this is going. I don't fully remember what the prompt was. It was something about getting money by having to delete the only picture of something you have off your phone. My boyfriend filled in the blank and wrote the only picture that you'd have to delete would be the one of your birth mum. I immediately said I felt targeted. He told me I was. I was not happy and I asked him why he did that in our DMs. He told me he did it because he wanted to win and wanted the split. He said sorry, but he was insistent that he thought it wouldn't be a big deal and I wouldn't be so hurt. What? He told me he felt awful afterwards and like I had gotten way too upset. Am I the butthole? No, that's so bad. Like, why would he do that? That is just not nice at all, and he is not a nice person, so no. to be honest, he's probably one of those guys. I can just imagine it now. He's an edgelord, isn't he? He's like, oh, I'm so edgy. I'm going to ask you to delete the picture of your birth mum because I'm edgy and I want to win. Like, no, bin him. Oh, this one actually has an update. I forgot that I had screenshot the update as well. I screenshot all these ahead of time and then I can just go through and read them because my laptop is actually from the Stone Age and can't cope with reading and recording at the same time. And I completely forgot there was an update. I got very excited then. I love when there's updates. Just because I'm nosy. Which I think actually it would be a really good idea for me to check out Best of Redditor updates. I have read it like just on my own in spare time being nosy, but I think it would be good to read for a video actually, because I love when there's a conclusion and I'm sure a lot of other people do as well. So before I get into the update, I'd just like to say thank you to all the people who showed sympathy to me in the comments. I really appreciate your kind words. May both sides of your pillow always be cold or warm, whichever you prefer. Ah. People had the assumption that my boyfriend did not have any idea how emotional I was over the topic of my bio mother. That is actually far from the case. We've been dating for 2 years and he has come with me multiple times to visit her grave. In fact, the thing that made me decide to ask him out in the first place was the compassion and love he showed to me when we had a sentimental conversation about it. We had been friends already for a while before we started dating. He knows very well it's a sensitive topic. That makes it oh so much worse. That being said, we talked it out and I talked to him about his behaviour. He was very apologetic and he felt really bad. He told me that he had intended his statement of "you were targeted" to be apologetic. Okay. But it didn't really come off that way. I talked to him about how it made me feel. He promised me to never do it again, and he acknowledged that he crossed a line. He also apologised for unintentionally dismissing my feelings when I confronted him the first time. I chose to forgive him because I truly believe he didn't mean to hurt me so bad. Mistakes happen, and I could see and hear in his voice that he was genuinely sorry for hurting me. I'm not so sure. To those that were worried about me being in an abusive relationship, thank you. But I assure you, I'm fine. I appreciate your sympathies, but I am happy in my relationship and we have chosen to work past this together. TLDR, boyfriend apologised, we are still together. See, he may have apologised and he may not be abusive. Like, you don't have to be abusive to be a giant asshat. But I do think he is a giant asshat. He's clearly a bit of an edgelord. He clearly thinks he's funny and he clearly doesn't give two shites about anyone's feelings. If he did, knowing how sentimental you are about it in the first place, which you have just said, he wouldn't have done it. So I think you're being a little bit naive to believe that he's not just a complete bell. But, you know, things like that quite often you have to work out in your own time anyway. But yeah, people like that tend to be quite selfish. And they just think they're really funny and they're doing it because they're like, oh, it's just banter. No, you're a dick. That's my personal opinion anyway. Now, how about we take a brief intermission for a word from my cat? Thank you for listening. On to the next one. Am I the butthole for not letting my dad be part of my tattoo? I, 18F, am planning on getting my first tattoo soon. How exciting! Or I can remember my first tattoo, hated it, didn't get any for years, and then now I'm covered. I have struggled with depression and suicidal thoughts for almost 5 years now. Obviously saying it that way because YouTube does not like the actual word. And I really hope that you are doing well and you are getting help for that. To celebrate how far I have come, I want to get a tattoo done that includes handwriting from some of the most important people in my life. The quote is, "You are stronger than you think." As you can see, there are 6 words, so I can really only pick 6 people. I have chosen 2 of my friends, my boyfriend, my sister, brother, and my mum. When my sister found out my dad wasn't going to be involved, she stated I should find a way to include him. For context, since I started struggling with depression and started therapy, my relationship with my dad has gotten a lot worse. You could say it has something to do with it being a teenager and just hating my parents, but it's a lot more than that. I don't want his handwriting on my arm forever.
because I'm for a fact every time I would read it, I would be angry. I think that's when I say I know for a fact. My sister says I should find a way to include him. Anyone, but I really don't want to. Am I the butthole for deciding this? No, absolutely not. It's on your body. It's on your body forever. And if you don't want to get his handwriting, then no, I wouldn't blame you. And if you both have quite a bit of beef anyway, I don't know why he would expect it. I mean, maybe he could try being a better dad to you, perhaps. Being more supportive, then maybe you would want to do that. Definitely not the butthole. The two friends have been in my life for 7 years, and me and my boyfriend have been together for 2. I'm not planning on getting this tattoo for a while. It's just getting the idea of it and who I want to be part of it. Yeah, definitely not the butthole. You have whoever you want permanently inked on your body. That is a very personal thing, and if he hasn't earned the right to be on there, well, that says more about him than it does about you now, doesn't it? And I really hope that you're doing well and getting help and getting the support that you need for your depression. Would I be the butthole if I asked my roommate to not have her mum over past a certain time at night? For context, I, 18F, live with my roommate, 18F, who I'll call Susie. And we live in a shared dorm room. Standard dorm, small open room, no privacy, at college. Susie lives very close to the college and goes home for the weekend every Friday and comes back to the dorm on Sunday nights. Anywhere from 10 to 10:45. Sometimes, but not always later. On the other hand, I do not live close to the college, so I don't go away for the weekends. Every Sunday that Susie comes back to the dorm, her mum also comes in with her in our room to put her stuff away, clean, etc. Her mum doesn't stay super long, I would say about 15 to 20 minutes, on occasion longer, but mainly my issue is the time that her mum is over. It is quite late, to be fair. Honestly, it's just in general frustrating that it's every single Sunday that her mum is in our room at that time, but I'm not really sure how much I have the right to tell her how much she can have her mum over. Probably not much I can do there, but I digress. Also, sometimes her mum tries to make small talk with me, when, in the nicest way of saying this as possible, I don't want to feel like I have to talk to her every time. Yet I don't want to come off as rude. I completely get that because I am the same. I'm very introverted, like I say. I just like to be in my own bubble. I work myself up to being social. When I'm feeling sociable, I'm really sociable. But when I'm not, I'm just like, I want to be a turtle and I would love to have a shell that I can just retreat into, that I carry around with me. Thank you, please. I just don't want to feel pressured to talk, be on when her mum is here. On top of the time that her mum is here, Susie is just extremely dependent on her family, and I don't know her very well and respect her in that way for the most part. It's just that the habit has made living with her kind of frustrating, in the sense that I feel like I'm living with a little sister. I just don't know what to do, because I don't know how to go to her now after it's been going on since the start of school and set a boundary with her. Yeah, that's understandable. If it's been going on for a while, it's going to feel very awkward, and she'll probably be like, oh, why are you only just bringing it up now? But no, if it's every single Sunday, so late, and she's coming in, she's cleaning and stuff, I bet there's sometimes when you're like, I want to be asleep now, thank you. Oh, we've got classes in the morning or whatever. So yeah, no, that would feel very intrusive. So would I be the asshole for going to her and asking that she comes earlier with her mum if she really wants her mum to come in with her? No, it is really late. It's so late, and to be coming in and then cleaning and trying to talk to you and what have you when you just want to wind down before Monday starts. So no, you definitely wouldn't be the butthole, and it's probably good to just get it over and done with now. The longer you leave it, the harder it's going to be to do it. Next up, am I the butthole for telling my friends I don't want to rent with them the night they're trying to sign a lease? Very much depends if you had agreed on it before, but we will read on first. We will hold our opinions till the end. Hello, I'm a 19-year-old first-year college student who about a week ago agreed with a group of 5 friends that I'd be interested in living with them next school year. Okay, so nothing was like formally agreed on, but you just said you'd be interested. Okay. Yesterday, we found a place we really liked and talked about how we'd figure out the lease by the end of the week. Today, they've decided they want to sign the lease ASAP, by tonight, because the landlord explained that the market is competitive and they don't want to lose this nice house. But reading through the lease has made me realise I don't want to do this financially. Even with the 5 of us, this would cost me $750 a month, or $9,000 to live there from August 2025 to July 2026, not counting utilities. That's quite a lot. and that is money that could go towards classes. I am paying for school by myself and just came back from a gap year of working. I do not want to take any loans and have a lot of anxieties about going into debt after college because it happened to my mum and it still affects her. Yeah, I mean, I decided not to go into higher education. I could have got funding. I did try. I got kicked out because I kept fighting because I was a little reprobate back then. But I tried. But now, if I was to go and do it now, I did look into it. If I was to go back to university now as a, mature student I'm classed as, even though I'm really not that mature, it would cost a lot of money. Now, that's in the UK. In the US, I hear it is really, really expensive. And I've seen a few people, like, on TikTok, things like that, saying that they're 20 years into their career after doing, college, and they're still trying to pay it off. Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot. If you can get it all paid off up front, then I do not blame you whatsoever. Anyway, my family also lives close enough to campus that I can just stay with them without having to pay anything. Well, it's a no-brainer then, isn't it, really? These friends are all from out of town, so they need to find a place to stay. I feel like a dick now for saying I don't think I can as soon as they are trying to sign the place, because I definitely could with the money I have saved, but I know I'll regret it in the future. I know I really don't want to, but feel like I have to because they don't have anyone else and they need 5 people. See, no, if you can't, you can't. And you do have to think 10 steps ahead financially in life. It's the only way you can stay afloat and above water. And if you know that it's going to have a knock-on effect to your finances later on, it is not a good idea to do it. You just need to go, no, sorry, I cannot. Finances won't allow it, and just leave that at that. Right now, I am banking on the fact that my parents refused to co-sign, but I technically wouldn't need them because my credit score is better than the both of them. Do I continue to lie and say that my parents are the reason I can't sign? Most, if not all of these places require us to have co-signers because we're so young, but my parents' financial history is so poor they don't think they'd be approved as co-signers. I mean, a little white lie to save you from going into financial issues later on is not a bad thing. I don't think if it's going to save your friendships as well, no, I would just tell a little white lie, it's fine. Obviously, I don't condone lying, but if you need to get out of a sticky situation, then I think your hands are tied, aren't they, really? I feel like an asshole because this is causing them a lot of anxiety, but it would be better for my own anxiety in the long run if I stayed at home and saved the money. I don't know how any of them are paying for school, so I feel awkward and kind of like a butthole for suddenly saying I couldn't afford it. But they're not your responsibility. You have to look after your own interests because friendships when you're in school as well are fickle. They're so fickle. You don't know if a few years down the line you're even going to be friends with these people. I hopefully, touch wood, fingers crossed, you will be. But say that you're not. Say that you all fall out over something really silly. And then you're stuck into financial issues because you pandered to worrying about other people's financial issues and not your own, and not putting your own first. And then this happened. But the thing is, they could find a cheaper house. They don't need to rush to sign for this one. They could find a cheaper place. I'm sure there are other places. So I kind of think that you just need to put yourself first in this situation. You might feel selfish, but I don't think it is selfish personally. I think it's smart. How should I go about this without ruining my relationship with these people? I don't want to screw them over, but I know I will if I pull out. Which is what I want to do. Right, see, if you know that your parents wouldn't get approved, I would just say, oh, I'm so sorry, my parents just have not got approved, they can't co-sign, I can't do it. I'm gonna have to stay with them for financial reasons, and let that be that. Do not put yourself in financial ruin in the future because your friends want to rush into this house. Your friends will find somewhere else to live. They absolutely will. There is no need for you to put yourself into financial difficulties later on to allow them to get this place when there will be other places. There really will. So yeah, that's what I would do personally. I wouldn't put myself in a pickle. Do you know what though? Back when I was younger, like when I was if I'd have gone to university, I was definitely a people pleaser with my friends. So I probably would have put myself in a financial difficult position to save hurting their feelings or whatever, or making them have to do extra legwork, finding somewhere else. So I completely understand why you'd feel so stuck. But take it from someone with a little bit more experience on how much it sucks to have financial issues when you are older. It is not easy. The older you get, the more expensive things get. Do not put yourself into financial issues when you're older. Be smart with your money now. It will pay off when you need it to. So yeah, just take it from an idiot who's already been there, done that, got the t-shirt and got all the stress.
Am I the butthole for getting my cousin kicked out of a family gathering and not letting her come to any family events until next year? A little family drama to start off the day. Who doesn't love it? In August, my cousin, 25F, had her wedding. My sister-in-law, 27F, is a professional chef, and my cousin wanted her to have her cook a 3-course meal and a dessert for her wedding. And my sister-in-law accepted the offer and made some damn good food for her wedding. But my sister-in-law expected payment from my cousin, and my cousin complained about how we were family and it should be free. They got into an argument about it, and my family was split. Yeah, no, you shouldn't ever just expect things for free, family or not, at all. It's not a good look. Some agreed with my cousin, saying that families should give each other things for free. Some agreed with my sister-in-law, saying that my cousin still needed to pay. Some just wanted peace. I honestly agree with my sister-in-law. Eventually, someone came up with a compromise. My sister-in-law would give my cousin a discount, and both sides seemed to agree on that compromise. That's, fair. My cousin paid my sister-in-law, but was still pretty angry. My cousin called me and my sister-in-law a couple hours after the wedding. She said it was all our fault, she couldn't go on a honeymoon, and that we planned this because we hated her. What? She said some not so nice words, and I told her to apologise, but she refused. I didn't know what to do, but then I came up with a great idea. Every year my family goes to my aunt's house for Halloween, and I could ask her to apologise there. Halloween night, most of my family was in the kitchen talking. Somehow we ended up talking up the incident with my cousin's wedding. When my cousin went to the bathroom, I told everyone what she said to me and my sister-in-law. My cousin came back and got some angry glares. Everyone was so mad at her and kicked her out and told her she couldn't come to any more family gatherings until next year. Am I the butthole? I would say the way that you were probably the butthole in this situation is the fact that you seem like an absolute shit stirrer, to be honest. Like, leave them to sort it out between themselves. Like, yeah, your cousin's being an ass because that would have cost a lot of money to make all the food for the wedding, I would assume. But still, it's not your place to be demanding apologies, telling people what they should think. I imagine you probably embellished some stuff as well, to be quite fair, because normally, families are very forgiving. So yeah, I would say your cousin's an ass, absolutely, but I would probably hazard to guess that you're no better either. It seems like you're getting quite the kick out of stirring the pot, as it were. But yeah, your cousin is an ass too, but you're a bit of an ass as well. Next up, am I the butthole for telling my fiancé I don't want his brother over? I, F24, and my fiancé, 27M, have been together for 4 years this month. He moved to live with me 3 years ago. My fiancé doesn't get to see his family much, due to living an hour from them, and a lot of them tend to not be too good to be around for his mental health. But he hasn't been able to see his brother a lot over the last 6 years or so. He's only seen him a handful of times. Anyways, fast forward to today. I worked today, picked him up after work, and we went home. He is having a couple drinks while on his game, and out of nowhere he says, I think my brother's going to be coming over this weekend and maybe have a couple drinks. And I responded with, oh, all right. He said, what? I replied with, oh, nothing. I just wish you would ask me if I minded if he came over so I wouldn't feel like I wasn't being considered. And if you would have just asked me, I would have said yes. But I don't know how to feel about a 19-year-old drinking in our apartment. Must be American. I hate to rub it in, but we can drink here when we're 18. He then goes on a rant about how he pays half of the bills and how it's our apartment, and if he wants to see his brother and drink with him, he's allowed, especially because he doesn't get to see him ever. Then I pop off with, well, then I don't want him here at all. Oh, you sound like a child. And all I could say back was, I also pay half the bills, and this is also my apartment, and I would still like to feel considered in decisions on who is and isn't going to be at our apartment. I should get a choice and or opinion on the matter. Anyways, the argument went on, and now we're just sitting here not saying anything to each other, and I just can't happen to think, am I the butthole? Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. You're being controlling. Do you want to know how I know? You said, where is it now? You said, I replied with, oh, nothing. I just wish you would have asked me if I minded if he came over so I wouldn't feel like I wasn't being considered. And if you would have just asked, I would have said yes. But now I don't know how to feel. So basically, because he made a decision and you weren't allowed the ultimate say in it, you're going, well, I would have said yeah, but now you can get stood on. That is a very, very childish, mind you, controlling relationship tactic. I can't stand people like that. You are the butthole. It's his brother. He's coming over. I doubt they're going to be drinking like hard spirits and getting absolutely trashed. They're probably going to have like a couple beers and play on games. Like, grow up. Let your boyfriend have his brother over, for God's sake. In fact, you don't get a choice. I really hope your brother just went, well, sit and swivel, love. I'm having it over anyway. Because it's his brother. It's not like he's being an arse and being like, yeah, I'm having a party overnight. Then maybe you could be like, oh, I wish you considered me. But he's just having his brother that he barely ever sees. You've said it yourself. He barely ever sees him. So it's not like it's a constant thing either. Go and calm down and stop being an ass. The reposter has titled this, wow, focus on me. Am I the butthole for throwing away my girlfriend's art supplies because she was spending too much time on her hobby? Oh, here we go. So I, 21M, have been dating my girlfriend, 20F, for about a year now. She's an art major and honestly, she's talented. But lately, her art has been taking up a lot of her time. She's always painting, sketching, or doing some kind of project, even outside her classes. It's gotten to the point where she'll spend hours on her stuff and barely pay attention to me or make time to hang out. I tried talking to her a few times, telling her that I felt like she was spending more time with her art than with me, but she'd just brush it off, saying it's important for her career and that her art makes her happy. She told me it's her way of unwinding, and sometimes she's even working on stuff she hopes to sell in the future. Anyway, after weeks of her ignoring me for her projects, I got fed up. Last weekend, while she was at work, I went over to her place and threw out most of her art supplies. Ooh, you can't be doing that. Paints, sketch pads, brushes, all of it. I thought maybe if it was gone, she'd finally realise that she was putting too much energy into this hobby and would spend more time with me. No, I think she's going to finally realise that she really needs to bin you off, my love. When she came home and realised what I'd done, she freaked out. She was crying and yelling, asking why I'd do something so cruel. She even accused me of being controlling and selfish. Yep. I told her that I did it because I care about our relationship and I felt like she was letting her art come between us. Now she won't talk to me and some of her friends are saying I'm a toxic boyfriend. Bang on. I honestly thought she'd see that I did it because I want us to spend more quality time together. But now I'm questioning if maybe I went a bit too far. Am I the butthole? Yeah, you are the butthole. You are absolutely the butthole. You probably are a bit of a controlling boyfriend if you're doing stuff like that. Like, talk to them. If you can't come to some reconciliation, maybe you're just not both matched. Maybe you're someone who needs to spend a lot of time with your partner and maybe she's someone who doesn't. But it even says there that she's working on things hoping to sell in the future. She's working passionately for her future on something that she enjoys. Be happy for her. My goodness. Yeah, definitely the butthole. If anything, just because I'm pretty sure that's illegal to just essentially go into someone's place without them knowing and taking all of their stuff and throwing it away. Surely that is classed as theft. So if I was her, I would be reporting you, to be quite honest. I wouldn't even feel bad about it. Am I the butthole? Friend F forcing me F to pay $900 for an urgent care visit during Halloween weekend. Hi, using a throwaway because I don't want people I know seeing this. Good idea considering you ended up in Am I the Devil? Last weekend, October 25th, I drove to another city to celebrate Halloween with a friend and her university friends. We'd planned a group costume and I spent $100 on mine because I'd never done a group costume and wanted it to be perfect. Before our party, we walked to a show and I pre-gamed with 2 shots of Tito's. I don't know what that is. I'm assuming it's a spirit. Later, back at her place, I took another 4 shots, feeling fine. At the party, I had 2 more shots, smoked a cigarette, and was fine until we got back to her apartment, where I felt horribly nauseous and dizzy. I'd pre-gamed with 7 to 8 shots before without issue, so I was confused. I tried to sleep it off, but it got worse, so my friend insisted on taking me to urgent care. I told her I couldn't afford it, but she reassured me it was okay and that she'd cover it with her trust fund. Good friend. Do you know what? I'm going to Google what percentage Tito's is because I have no idea what it is. 40%! 40%! Oh my goodness! No wonder you were absolutely on your backside. That seems like really bad idea. My God! We got there and it ended up costing $1,800, which she paid. The next day, her sister texted her angrily about spending that much money on me, demanding I pay her back. My friend reassured me it was okay, that her sister was overreacting and that I didn't need to worry. Still, I felt awful. The following night, I felt better and decided to go out with them again, figuring the night before was a fluke. I had 3 shots of Deep Eddies and a few cups of jungle juice, but when we got back, the same symptoms hit me hard. Basically, you can't handle your drink. Stop drinking. My goodness. What a rookie mistake. I was spinning, nauseous, and shaking. I ended up passing out on her couch. The next morning, she told me she didn't want to go out with me anymore if I couldn't handle my alcohol. Absolutely. I was embarrassed and apologized, explaining I didn't know what was going on with my body. I offered to pay her back for my share of the parking and the Uber, which totaled about $90. And she agreed. Later, I texted her to apologize again and suggested maybe we don't hang out until I figure out what's going on with me. Maybe you don't drink until you figure out what's going on with you. You can hang out without drinking, you know. Then, on October 31st, she texts asking if I could pay her back at least half of the urgent care bill, $900. I was shocked because she'd reassured me it was covered, that her dad, who set up the trust fund, would understand, and that her sister was overreacting. But now she said she needed the money for her cat's vet bills and savings for grad school. I was really confused, since she'd previously said she'd pay for her cat's vet bills separately from her trust fund, and that even if I did pay her back, it couldn't go back into the trust fund. I was overwhelmed and had a panic attack. I told her I'd try to pay $30 a month, which would take 2.5 years. My goodness. She accepted, saying she needed the money because her dad found out and got on at her about it. Now I'm confused and frustrated because I thought this was covered, and I don't know if she lied to me or didn't tell me the truth. I had another panic attack and left our group chat, and she hasn't reached out since. Am I the butthole for feeling upset and confused about her asking for the $900 after she'd initially reassured me? Yes, you are, because you shouldn't have been drinking that much in the first place. 40% volume is stupid idea to be shotting, quite frankly. Absolutely stupid. And then to go ahead and do it again and go out drinking again a few days later. What was it? Let me just have a quick skim through. The following night. The following night you went out again. You still got half of that booze from the night before in your body, I would presume. So yeah, of course it's your fault, because you don't know how to control your booze, you don't know how to control yourself, and if you can't handle alcohol, and if you have one episode of ending up at urgent care because of drink, going out the next night is such a bad idea, such a silly idea. Now, we've all done silly things when it comes to booze, I'm sure, but still, of course, it's your responsibility. You're the one who drank a ton. First night, you could maybe give you your graces. Second night, you were literally just out of urgent care for not being able to handle your booze and then went smashing a load more. So yeah, definitely your fault for the second night, for sure. Am I the butthole for asking my wife to stop reading fanfiction based on Pedro Pascal characters? What a title. I'm in a bind, and the long story short of this is that I, 32M, found out my wife, 28F, has been reading explicit fanfiction centered around characters played by the actor Pedro Pascal. I wanted to stop, and she thinks I'm being unfair. None of these stories are about the real person himself, but they are all about the very specific characters he plays on television shows like Narcos and The Last of Us. I initially found out she'd been reading these stories when I was using her laptop a week back. She was attempting to hide anything, and when I asked her about it, she was upfront and open with me. I figured this is just an outlet, and I chalked it up to these stories being like romance novels. I have no problem with that at all. We have a 13-month-old. Her pregnancy was difficult at times and she has had a hard time postpartum, much of which I know I don't fully understand, but I'm committed to supporting her through. After discovering how often she has been reading these stories and then seeing some of the kinks and themes in them, I felt a little more uncomfortable. Oh, goodness. It's not just corny romance novel stuff, and I probably misunderstood it to be so. We've struggled some with intimacy since her pregnancy, and these stories are almost always sexually explicit, which include kinks she's never mentioned wanting to explore in the 8 years we have been together. These stories are sexual in a way she is definitely otherwise is averse to right now, so I have a hard time reconciling why she's reading this stuff. Worth mentioning as well, maybe, that we are from Texas. I do feel strangely about the fact some of these fictional characters are men from Texas. See, even you know how daft you're being here. I have a hard time equating this to watching porn, which is something that has come up when we talk about this, because it's a hyper-specific and involves the same actor repeatedly. I do think she'd feel weird if I watched Corn with a single actress on repeat to that extent where I only ever watched their Corn. I've expressed all of this to her. Our conversations are a wreck, though, in a way they usually are not. It basically ends with me pissed and not understanding why she gives so much of a poo about being able to read this stuff, and her saying I'm making her out to be a bad mum for spending free time reading this or making her feel like a freak. I want to talk this through without her feeling attacked, but I also don't know if I see an outcome where I feel comfortable if she continues to read these stories. I think I'd probably feel different if they weren't about characters played by a real person who I can safely say I look nothing alike. Ha ha. Am I the butthole for feeling weird about all this? Yeah, a little bit. It's so harmless. Let her have her stories. My life. She's not hurting anyone. It's usually just because it's not the person and their looks, it's the story. She's reading it. She's not watching anything. She's reading it. So I bet you any money, she's making up lots of different people in her mind. It's just kind of a base person to go off for her imagination. Let her have that. Because I guarantee you tell her to stop reading those books, she stops reading those books. One, she's going to resent you because her little outlet to feel, good is gone. 2, she's going to feel controlled. And 3, she's just going to make it up in her head anyway. Believe it or not, us ladies have imaginations. Shocker, I know. So, first off, we have, am I the butthole for telling my mother-in-law to F off? So, my husband Cassian, 30M, and I, 28F, have been married for 3 years, and I'm currently 30 weeks pregnant. Will become relevant later. Cassian has never had a good relationship with his mum because she was very invasive when he was a kid and did a bunch of really crazy stuff to him. Constantly accused him of doing drugs, having unprotected, drinking, and so much more. For example of severity, one time after she wrongly accused him of stealing her vodka, she pressed the lid of another bottle against his mouth and said something to the effect of, if you want it so much, then drink the whole bottle right now. Drink it. And tried to make him drink it. He left the house. She found the bottle later because she'd put it somewhere safe. Oh, wow. To clarify, all of these things were just wild accusations, and it's safe to say that he didn't have a good relationship with her in his childhood or adulthood. He has an okay relationship with his dad and a lot better than his mum, and they talk at least once a month, but it's very rare that he has contact with her now. I've met her once or twice. His family tend to have these really big birthday parties. He has 5 brothers and an incredible amount of aunts and uncles and cousins. And there was one this weekend that we both went to for one of his uncles that he was close to growing up and still speaks to now. He knew that his parents were going to be there, but figured with everyone else that was also going to be there, we could just avoid his mum or whatever worked. Yeah, you'd hope so, wouldn't you? She's like that. All was okay when we got there. We milled around for a bit and Cassian ended up going off to speak to one of his brothers, and I was making my way over to see one of his aunts when I was stopped by his mum. I thought she wasn't going to do anything at the party, so we had a conversation and she asked me about how everything is and then asked if she could touch the baby bump. I kind of laughed it off and said that I'd rather she didn't. Totally get that. I hated it when anyone even tried to touch me. I would just tell them, nope, don't touch me, get away. Because I'm not a big fan of people I don't know touching me, lol. Feel that. She started getting pushy and then saying stuff like, I'm going to be this baby's grandmother and I have the right to know them and watch them grow up.
You earn that right, my dear. You have to earn it. She continued and said, I know that Cassian hates me, but that's because he was always such a sensitive child. To me, this was the point when I was just done with her crap, so I told her to F off. It just proves to me that she's not changed, that she still doesn't admit to doing any wrong and treats mine and Cass's kid with the same entitlement that she treats him. I said she had no right to see the baby, and if she hadn't gotten the clue by now, then she probably never will. I know I could have been nicer about it, but I was just done. Cass and I left, and he's not really bothered by it at all. But I know I could have dealt with it with more tact. Am I the butthole? No, she sounds like she needs putting in a place. She sounds like an absolute nightmare. I think it was quite deserved, actually. Next up, am I the butthole for leaving my mum home after she added herself to a trip I organised? I chose to organise a solo trip from my town to our family's sea house. Usually it's a 4-hour drive, but I decided I wanted to take many detours to test my recently bought car, making the drive around 8 hours long. The day before leaving, my mum, who is also in love with our sea house, heard about my plans and decided she wanted to come too. The problem is, she is the passenger driver type of person, and going 1 kilometre per hour over the limit is a death penalty for her. I love being alone, and I like going to our second house because in this period the town is empty and quiet. My mum also likes the peace of this place, but she hates doing something that she doesn't like, and my drive would be restricted to going from A to B, and I wouldn't have the same degree of freedom that one gets when being home alone. So I tried telling her I'd rather go by myself. After a short talk, I left. She didn't look upset, but my sister said she called me an asshole a few times after I left. Am I the butthole? Just for clarification, if I paraphrase things, it's because it's just to make it easier to listen to, because quite often things are written quite fast, so they're not written perfectly well, I suppose. So I tend to paraphrase things just so it makes it easier to listen to. Edit how the conversation went and extra info. My father brought a new car for himself because his V6 Busso Alfa Romeo broke down. I have no idea what that is. So he gave me his old broken car and told me I could keep it if I could fix it. Took a few months, but once I was done working on the car, I started planning the trip. I came back home the day before leaving. I live in a different city because I study there. My mum told me she wanted to come by car too. When I was planning the trip, she told me she might reach me by train. I told her that I planned to make a few detours on twisty roads and many stops. She told me that she only wanted to do the highway. I told her I planned my trip long ago and I would rather stick to my plans, so I proposed to pay for her train ticket, but she told me she didn't want to take the train because she needed to switch it 2 times. She travelled all her life and has a lot of experience with trains and any sorts of means of travel. That's when I said I wasn't going to change my plans because I had been looking forward to that day for so long. You could tell she was hurt, and that's why I felt guilty, even though I did all I could to get her to the beach house without completely changing my plans. I have been studying since September for a really hard exam I took on the 4th of November, and this was the only week of vacation I could take before diving back into studying for a December exam. That's why I was so determined in doing what I wanted before getting back on the books. Personally, no, I don't think you're the butthole. You planned it purposefully as like a little road trip thing, so if she doesn't want to do the road trip bit, then she should find her own way there. That's just tough, unfortunately. But no, you're definitely not the butthole. You planned a trip, a road trip. What does she expect? Am I the asshole if I refuse to participate in any of my co-workers' baby showers? I work in social services, and the majority of the people I work with in my organisation are women. I am a woman in my late 30s with no kids and no interest in having any. We've been having a lot of baby showers, and most recently I got an email with not 1 but 2 different staff members' registries for gifts. I don't want to go to a party at work where I play kind of weird, gross baby shower games, and I don't want to spend my money on them either. Will I seem like the butthole if I just ignore everything? I wish them all the best, but I just don't care to participate. I hope they are happy and healthy when delivery comes, but keep that stuff away from me, please. Yeah, no, not the butthole at all. I don't get baby showers at all. I find them a bit just odd. Just if people want to buy you stuff, buy you stuff. But, different strokes for different folks, isn't it, really? If it's not for you, then don't go. Definitely not the butthole. Am I the butthole for not letting my sister bring her kids to my child-free wedding, even though they're family? I, 30F, am getting married soon, and my fiancé, 30M, and I decided to have a child-free wedding. We both feel like it's our big day, and we want it to be an adult celebration. My sister, 35F, has 2 kids, and when I told her about the child-free policy, she was really upset. She said that as a family, her kids should be allowed to attend and that it's unfair to exclude them. I explained that it's not personal, but she's pushing back hard and even threatened to not come if she can't bring them. I'm sticking to the policy, but now there's tension in the family. Am I the butthole for not bending the rule for her kids? No, Absolutely not. If you don't want kids at the wedding, you don't want kids at the wedding. Have a child-free wedding. If I was to ever get married, if I ever did, someone needs to check me psychologically, because I am absolutely not about that life. But if I ever did, then I certainly wouldn't want kids there. It would be a lot of booze, a lot of fun, a lot of just adult shenanigans, just being little drunky poos and having fun. I wouldn't want kids there and having to look out for kids and having them running around my feet, knocking stuff over and all of that lot. And I have kids. See, I know what a nightmare they can be at formal events. That's why I don't think they should be at formal events, personally. Now, obviously, some people are very much like family orientated where kids are involved and they're like, oh, kids make an event. And that is fine if that's your cup of tea. It's just not mine, and I don't think if it's not somebody else's, they should be forced to do it. No, even if they are family. Am I the butthole for not joining my dad and his wife on mini vacations for my sick stepsister? That's a tongue twister right there. Did you hear how I struggled to say that then? Oh, goodness. I, 17M, live primarily with my mum, and I see my dad one weekend a month because he's lived 4 hours from us since I was 9, and my sister, 20F, was 12. Last year, my dad got married again. His wife has a 7-year-old daughter. She might be 6, with this rare chronic blood issue that has affected her heart. It could be terminal if she doesn't get the right transplants, and she's a rare blood type and they struggle to get the match for her. I think bone marrow? But she's also waiting for a heart transplant. I don't know all the details. I'm not that invested in my dad's life or the stuff going on with his new family. I already sense the tension. You could cut it with a knife. I am with them one weekend a month, and I try not to let the disinterest hurt the kid. This means she has bonded with me, even though it's totally one-sided, and I think it's because her life has revolved a lot around her health and hospitals, and she doesn't have a big family or friends because she's rarely is healthy enough to go to school. Ah, bless her. With all that said, they take her on mini vacations when she can and when they can afford to. My dad wanted me and my sister to join in as often as we can so his stepdaughter can have the family around her just in case. Like, in case she doesn't survive. Wow. I know she wants me there. My sister has never met her, so I'm not sure she cares about her. But my dad does, and his wife really effing cares. Well, of course she does. It's her daughter. She surprised me, but she cares. They invited me on like 9 already, and I never go. I never want to. After the last one, his stepdaughter ended up in hospital and was so sick. They were angry that it could have been it, and my sister and I weren't there and didn't make it extra special for her. They asked if I wouldn't feel awful if she died and I didn't get to say goodbye, that I didn't make her final moment special. Am I the butthole? No, that's not on you to make her final moment special at the end of the day. I understand where they're coming from, that they know how much she cares about you, the stepdaughter, so they kind of feel mad that you didn't come, but at the end of the day, if you don't want to go, they can't force you to go. It's not your responsibility to make the child happy. It's theirs. And you can't help the way you feel at the end of the day. If you don't want to go, you don't have to go. Would it be nice if you went? Of course it would. Absolutely. If you don't want to, though, they can't make you. You're nearly an adult now, so it's one of those. It's another case, isn't it, of what you see a lot on these Reddit posts where the parent is trying to force their kid to care about the new step family. Well, if you try and force that things, it's never going to come. It's never going to happen. In fact, they'll just push further away from it. If you just let it happen naturally and don't force it, then it might be different. But you can't force these things. It doesn't work that way. Am I the butthole for missing my friend's baby shower after she was 4 hours late? Wait. After she was over 4 hours late to it, what, to her own baby shower? Okay. Am I the butthole for being ready for my friend's baby shower an hour before it started? Started 4 p.m. and was ready at 3. And the friend whose shower it wasn't ready yet. I kept calling to check, texting, etc. The friend wasn't ready until 8 p.m. and finally texted me to come to the shower. I waited 4+ hours and I told her I could no longer attend. Now she's mad. Am I the butthole? What? No. Like, how was she even 4 hours late for her own baby shower? What? More info. Also, I called her around 3:45 p.m. to let her know that I'd be late about 15 minutes, and that's when the waiting game started. I didn't go to the venue because I don't know her family well or the other people that she invited, and I didn't want to be there awkward if she wasn't there yet. Oh god, I absolutely get that. Like, if I'm going somewhere and I only know one person, I will not arrive there until that one person that I know is there. But to be honest though, I tend to avoid going to social situations where I only know one person there because I just find that really, really awkward and I don't like it. So no, you're not the butthole. Your friend though, what is going on? Your friend needs to get a lot better with dealing with, being on time and getting ready and what have you, because she sounds terrible at time management. Am I the butthole for yelling at a nurse to get a wheelchair for my husband? For short background, my husband has epilepsy. He needs to take some medicine in order to keep them under control. Recently, he's been given a new medicine called Aptiom. It's a new experimental medicine, his neurologist's words, not mine. And for about half a week, my husband has been doing great. Then came the side effects. It started with vision blurriness, which got so bad he needed to feel his way to get around. Ooh, scary. Then there's today. He started vomiting so much until there was blood in it and he couldn't walk without assistance from the family or needing a wheelchair. That is very scary. When we got to the ER, the nurse asked us some questions, i.e. what's wrong, what kind of medication was he taking, etc. And after I told her everything, including him being unable to walk, the nurse tried to make him stand so we could go to the other room. Why? She kept telling him to get his footing right and coordinated. I kept repeating myself to her that he needed a wheelchair before snapping and suddenly yelling, "Woman, he needs a wheelchair." I mean, you could have been harsher, to be fair. She got the wheelchair, and after hearing my husband tell me that I was being mean and to apologise to the nurse for my behaviour, I started to feel bad. Actually, I still feel bad about it. So am I the butthole? No, I think at the end of the day, if you'd already told her that he can't walk and that, he needs a wheelchair, she should have just got the wheelchair. I understand that, nurses and what have you are under a lot of pressure, but if you literally had just said he needs a wheelchair and then she's like, "Come on, chappie, up you get, start walking." Like, no. See, there's good nurses and then there's bad nurses that just don't give a crap and don't listen. At the end of the day, sometimes if you're panicked as well and you're stressed, things come out. So I'm sure you said sorry for snapping, but at the end of the day, she was not listening to you. Edit. My phone is now fully charged, and after reading a few comments, I realised that I left out some important context. That's my fault. Before we got to the ER, we found my husband in the kitchen, sitting against the refrigerator, throwing up and looking paler than a ghost. Our uncles had to help him into the car, and once at the ER, I had to ask the receptionist for a wheelchair while our aunt had to help him to get close to the door. The nurse saw me wheel him into the room while he threw up in one of those blue vomit bags, and that's when the next few minutes happened. I'm sorry if that confused people. I wasn't thinking while I was typing it out. Well, yeah, she saw him get brought in on a wheelchair, so why is she making him try and walk? I don't understand people sometimes. Am I the butthole for cancelling a surprise trip after I was asked if I would be okay with my son's stepdad adopting him? I have an 8-year-old son, Matthew. His mum is married to Gary and they've been together for a few years. My ex can no longer have any more kids and Gary really wanted some. Because of that, Gary lavished Matt with lots of attention and affection. I'm fine with it. Gary even got Matt's name tattooed on his arm. Okay? Yesterday, Gary was going to take Matt on his first real weekend camping trip. It was going to be a surprise. On Wednesday, my ex said they'd been working on something and wanted to discuss it with me because it was going to come up on the camping trip. I asked her what the F she was talking about. Gary said he loves Matt and wants to adopt him as a tri-parent. In my state, a step-parent can adopt a child even if the child already has parents. Basically, Gary would be an equal to me and my ex. He said he thought about it and my ex agreed. He said he is so in love with that kid that he wants to make it official. Nothing would change, and if something happened to Gary, and then Matt would definitely be taken care of. He wanted me to say yes and then surprise Matt on the trip. Then we'd begin the legal process. Oh, this sounds like stepping on your toes quite a bit, doesn't it? I said no. I think you need to take a break from Matt. I'm not interested in sharing the front seat, so you'll remain in the back seat. It's too weird. He was pretty upset at me saying no and cancelling the trip. Thanks for teaching him archery and washing him when he threw up on himself last week, though. Yeah, see, I understand that Matt is really close, but he can just be a good step parent. He doesn't need to be a tri-parent or whatever it is they called it. That's really stepping on the dad's toes who is fully involved in the kid's life already. No, that Gary is Is it Gary? Yeah, Gary is stepping on your toes incredibly here. You're not the butthole. I don't blame you. I would not feel comfortable with this either. It's really weird. It's very, very strange. Definitely not the butthole. I agree with the answer of no. Definitely. No. He can't use your kid to basically play parent is what I'm saying. And that's kind of what he's doing because he can't have his own, which is not right. Okay, last one for the day now. Am I the butthole for taking $6,000 from the sale of a house that my girlfriend and I both owned? Me, male, 38, and my girlfriend, female, 37, bought a home together to live in with our kids. I have one daughter and she has 2 boys. She sold her previous house and put all of that money into buying this house with me. She couldn't get a mortgage but made great money and basically put all of the dollars down for the down payment and moving expenses. We both paid the mortgage and started a joint account for the house. I started the account and put $5,000 in it, and we each added the same amount each week to cover the bills and anything for the house. Living together was a mistake, and she sent a text one day while I was at work that she talked with a realtor and was putting the house on the market after 8 months of living there. Wow. They do say moving in together will make you or it will break you. The house sold quickly for about what we paid, but not before the first buyer backed out. After the first buyer backed out, she left me to pay the mortgage and utilities for the empty house. After a year and a half, we were awarded the first buyer's down payment of $32,000. I haven't taken any money from the sale of the house at this point, and I think $6,000 would be fair. My ex thinks I should only get what I paid for the lawyer to fight for the down payment, which was $2,750. I feel $6,000 is fair. Like I said, she put a lot of money down, and even though the house sold for a similar amount, she still lost a substantial sum of money. Am I the butthole? If you were paying bills, like all the bills, whilst it was just sat there doing nothing, I don't see how you'd be the butthole. To be clear, we bought the house for $630,000. $630,000? That is what that says, isn't it? Right? I'm not being really stupid, am I? Possibly. Listen to me. I already am definitely being really stupid. We sold it for $620,000. My girlfriend took all the funds from that transaction. Prior to selling it for $620,000, we accepted an offer for $640,000. This buyer walked away and her down payment was in escrow for about a year and a half. We had to go to court and they awarded us $32,000, which was her down payment. The lawyer cost $5,500 and we split that $2,750 each. No, I don't think you'd be the butthole, because if it was just sat there for ages and you were paying the bills on it, again, that must have been a lot of money that was just flying down the drain at that time. So no, I don't think you're the butthole for doing that at all. I can't see why, but also I'm not very good with mortgages and all that sort of stuff and maths in general, so don't take my word for it.
Okay, so this first one might not be for you if you are sort of squeamish, but we will continue, and if you carry on listening, on your head be it. Am I the butthole for keeping a mother from burying her placenta? Okay, that is a very odd title. Throwaway account because I've been a long time lurker but never posted myself. Also, English isn't my first language. Me, F, and my boyfriend, both late 20s, live in a house with several apartments. We have a group chat to communicate just in case of emergencies or urgent house stuff, but I don't really know any of them. So today, one of our neighbours posted on this chat saying her and her boyfriend's, both mid-30s I guess, fridge had broken, and if any of us had some spare space in our freezers to store their frozen goods until they get a new fridge. Very normal. I kind of don't like where this is going though. I have a feeling on what they're going to ask next to put in that fridge. Ew. We hadn't lived in the building for long and I wanted to prove myself as a good neighbour, so I offered that we could keep some of their things in our freezers, thinking we're talking frozen peas, french fries, maybe some meat, as you would. When she showed up at my doorstep, they handed me a couple of frozen fruits and a large plastic container. I wanted to be polite and we were making some small talk when she casually mentioned that the container held her placenta they were going to bury at some point, but haven't gotten around to do it in the 5 years since their child was born. I mean, it's fine if you want to keep that. I understand that people do it for cultural beliefs, religious beliefs, just because sentimental, I guess. But not everyone's cool with that, so don't just hand your placenta in a little Tupperware box to a stranger. I feel like that should go without saying, but here we are. I was completely gobsmacked. It's not that I'm in any way appalled or disgusted by human, especially female body functions, and I support women handling their pregnancy, childbirth, and placenta however they see fit. Yeah, like I said. But standing in my doorway holding the placenta of a woman I barely even know felt just felt weirdly intimate and strange. Yeah, what a weird experience that must have been. I'm just putting myself in your shoes right now, and I just genuinely think you could have knocked me over with a feather if someone turned up at my door with a fucking Tupperware box of placenta. Okay, gather myself. Whew. I was also taken aback by how nonchalantly she just handed me her organ in a Tupperware container without even discussing it first. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. So, I told her that I would be happy to store all their food items for them until they got a new fridge, but that I was highly uncomfortable with keeping her placenta, that she would have to make other arrangements, and handed her the container. Yeah, she didn't take it well and argued that there's no difference to the frozen foods, that the placenta was safely wrapped, that it shouldn't bother me, and that I should hold up to my promise and be a good neighbour like I offered because they're relying on me. Yeah, but it's not just like you're handing over a joint of beef, is it now, love? Well, all of this is kind of true. I still didn't feel comfortable storing her placenta next to my food or in my possession at all, for that matter. Yeah, and the thing is, you've got to think that this is an organ that has come from this woman. You don't know her medical history. You don't know if she has any diseases, any conditions that could be dangerous and hazardous to you. Obviously, I'm assuming she doesn't, but you also never know. So you're probably not going to want to put a piece of her body in your freezer. Also, that's going to look really dodgy if something went down and for some reason, police decided to come and look around your house for something or other. I don't know, the neighbours went missing and they're checking on the neighbours and, oh, you've got a part of her body in your freezer. No. She took all of the frozen foods out of my hands and stormed off, loudly complaining that I was shaming a mum for a perfectly normal and healthy body function, that I'm a bigot, shitty neighbour, and basically bad person, I'm guessing, for not helping them out in the time of need. Yeah, of course it's a normal bodily function, and of course you're quite welcome to keep it if you want to, but you can't show up with it in a tub that you would keep a lasagna in at a stranger's house and ask them to put it in their freezer. How is she not understanding that? Wow. When I told my boyfriend, he was on my side, but some of my friends think I should have just sucked it up, that the placenta wouldn't have even touched my food, and that I'm being weird about it for no reason, and that I'm robbing parents of their chance to perform a meaning ritual. I'm now debating whether I should go apologise to my neighbour and offer to store her placenta in our freezer. Am I being the butthole? Yeah. Oh, this was quite the post to start off with, really, wasn't it? No, you're not. You're not the butthole for not wanting to keep someone's possibly hazardous materials in your freezer. I would feel really weird about having a stranger's organ in my freezer next to where I keep my ice cream. No, you are not the butthole, and anyone that thinks you are is really weird. It's perfectly okay to keep your placenta and do whatever the friggin' hell you want with it. Just don't bring strangers in on that, because that gets really odd. Moving swiftly on, I am still shocked by the last post, I must admit. Am I the butthole for going to prom with my friend instead of my boyfriend? So I, 17F, got into a long-distance relationship with my boyfriend, 19M, over this summer. He lives in Italy and I live in America. He's a very stoic person and doesn't really excite easily, which is why this situation surprised me so much. Just for some context, in the middle of my junior year of high school, I transferred to online school because I was dealing with severe mental health issues, and I knew being in that place wasn't helping. I hope you're feeling better, OP. Luckily, my school is a charter school and they have an entire online branch that students can switch between at any time if needed. So naturally, I start my senior year online as well. During this, I meet a boy, 17M, in my government class who asked me about the posters of various K-pop artists I had on my wall behind me. And slowly we started partnering up on assignments and eventually become friends. I met him in person eventually when I had to go back to the previously mentioned school for senior photos. We talked more and officially became friends, exchanging social medias with one another when we met again for SATs. Oh, or is it SATs? Because I'm assuming this is in America, and I know you guys say it as SATs. We call it SATs, and our kids sit them at year 6, at about the age of 9 or 10. I don't know if they have any later on. Haven't got to that stage yet with mine, but yeah, We call them SATs, so SATs for you. A while later, I get a message from him where he asked me if I'm going prom. I told him no, because at the time I didn't really see a reason to, because my only few friends had either graduated or moved to another school. We talked about it some more and I decided to go since I had made friends again. He then asked me to be his prom date. Immediately I knew there was no ill intent behind him asking. He had a crush on someone else and he knew I had a boyfriend, because I openly talked about him with him, and to others in a group chat some online students were in. So I say yes, and that's the end of that. Sounds innocent enough. I decided to inform my boyfriend about this, assuming he would be fine with it because of the circumstances. So I tell him everything in a voice message and leave it to him to respond to. A few minutes later, I get a message from him saying, "Why would you even think to ask me this? You basically just asked me to let you cheat." Whoa. This confused the hell out of me because I explained to him very thoroughly that my friend and I have no feelings for one another other than platonic, and we were just going as friends. I ask him why, and he tells me he doesn't want another man seeing me all dressed up for him, which took me even more by surprise, since 1, that's not really how it works, 2, I know this isn't really a cultural difference thing because he told me his high school had some sort of prom formal event. Yeah, no, that's I don't like that terminology. I don't want another man seeing you all dressed up. What? It's a flipping dress. You're putting on a bit of makeup. That's always a big red flag for me if anyone ever says, or if I've ever been dating a guy and they've gone, "Oh, I don't want you dressed up where other guys are." Immediately, I'm just like, "Nah, see you later," because I know where that's going. We all know where that's going. And if you don't know, if you're in a relationship and your boyfriend says that to you, or you're dating and they say that to you, run for the hills, because you've got a whole shite storm coming ahead of you with that guy. Believe me. So we start arguing, but ultimately he tells me to call off the date or he wants to break up with me. And now I have to tell my friend that my boyfriend doesn't want us going together, which is going to be hard because I already said yes. But part of me wonders if maybe I'm in the wrong. If it made my boyfriend react like this when he doesn't usually, maybe I shouldn't have said yes in the first place. I don't know. No, there's nothing wrong with having male friends. We need to, as a society, get the frick over this whole thing of guys can't be friends with girls, girls can't be friends with guys. They can, if they're decent people. And if you're with someone and you think that they can't be friends with guys, you must think that they're not a decent, trustworthy person. In which case, why are you with them? And vice versa. If you're going out with someone and they don't trust you to be a decent person, why are you with them? They don't trust you, they never will, and your life is going to be miserable and controlled. We need to get over this whole thing as a society of stopping friends being friends. Just because they have different parts in their trousers. It's ridiculous. Also, might I just say, why are we getting so bent out of shape over someone that lives halfway across the world? I really don't get that. If a guy is making your life an issue and he doesn't even live on the same continent as you, get rid. Anyway, edit. Something I should have clarified. My friend didn't use the word date when asking me to go with him. I just decided to use the word to make writing this easier. Edit 2. I see some of you have some concerns about our relationship being online, so let me clarify a few things. I've seen his face on multiple occasions. What? I, for some reason, thought you had met up at least once. We talk on FaceTime almost every day, and I have gotten multiple confirmations that he is the age that he says he is. Also, about me going to see him next spring, I will be 18 by then, but regardless, my mum is still coming with me. I'm not going into a foreign country where I don't speak the language alone. Don't worry, very smart. This will be my last edit until I have an update. I couldn't find an update, by the way. There might have been one, couldn't find it. Bin him immediately. You don't need to be controlled by someone who doesn't even live on the same country as you. Put him in the bin. You haven't even met him face to face, and you are letting him tell you who you can hang around with at prom? No. Don't do that. I know, obviously, you're young and very naive, but take it from someone who's been there, done that, worn the t-shirt, and been the mug for people. Don't do it. He will just control you and take the absolute piss. Don't do it. Trust me. Next up, am I the butthole for not inviting my best friend's boyfriend to a 6-year clear of cancer meal? I, 19M, suffered from cancer while I was only 12. I had a lot of people there for me, but the one who was there for me the most was my best friend, 19F. She was by my side the whole time. Whenever I had to go to the hospital for chemotherapy treatment, she was always there messaging me, making sure I was okay. Oh, bless her. When I arrived back in school, I had joined a drama club, which was after school and lasted about an hour and a half. There was one guy in this club that I did not get along with at all. I'm gay and have known for a while, and after a month of being back at school, I had told my closest friends and they were all supportive. But like everything in high school, word got round to other students, and to be honest, I didn't mind it all too much. But this guy in the club found out and was extremely homophobic towards me, telling me I should leave the school because no one would want to talk to me anymore, and started bringing up hurtful stuff about my cancer I had not long beat, such as it should have taken your life and it's a shame you beat it. What a horrible, horrible, hateful person. Disgusting. Fast forward to now, we are celebrating 6 years of me being clear of it. We have a meal every year to celebrate. It usually consists of me, my family, my boyfriend 22M, who I've been with for almost 2 years, and my closest friends. My best friend started dating this guy 5 months ago, and I found out a few weeks into their relationship it was the same guy who said all that hurtful stuff to me 6 years ago. I spoke to her about it and agreed to give him another chance as she seemed genuinely happy with him, and it had insisted he had changed. Me and him still don't get along, but I don't interfere with their relationship as she is the happiest she has been for a while. If I knew that some dirty little get had been calling my friend all those horrible things just because they're gay, I tell you what, I wouldn't be with them, that's for sure. Probably wouldn't do anything nice to them either. What the hell is your friend thinking? Is she really a good friend if she's going to go and do something like that? She then asked a few days ago if he could come to the meal that I was holding for my 6 years clear. I was pretty hesitant and told her that as much as I am happy for her being with someone she likes, he was awful to me in high school and I can't forgive him for what he was like. Don't blame you. I also told her that he still doesn't like me, as he has made that obvious about a month ago when he said something to another close friend of mine about me and my boyfriend. Yeah, no, why on earth would she ask you that? I really don't like your friend right now, I'm not gonna lie. She is now calling me childish and started saying that I should just forget about it. She also said if he doesn't come, she isn't going either. Well, good riddance. I don't know what to do. I don't know whether to forget everything and let him join in the meal or deny her request of him joining and deal with the consequences of her not joining either. So am I the butthole for not forgetting what he had done and deny my friend's request of him joining? No, your friend is so wrong for asking for that. So wrong. Am I the butthole for wanting my wife to help more with household chores? I, 32M, have been married to my wife, 30F, for 5 years. We both work full-time jobs, but I feel like I'm carrying more of the weight at home. I do most of the cleaning, cooking and yard work, while she often gets home later than I do and then just relaxes. I'm not asking for her to do everything, but I feel like it's becoming unfair. I've tried to bring it up a few times, but every time I mention it, she gets defensive and says I'm trying to control her or that she's tired from work too. The thing is, I'm tired as well, but I still make time to keep the house running. I just want her to pitch in a bit more. I've even offered to hire a cleaner, but she insists it's not necessary and that we should just manage on our own. I'm starting to feel really frustrated, but don't want to come off as a complaining too much. Am I the butthole? No, and the thing is, if she's saying, oh no, we can manage it on our own, well, then she has to chip in to do the managing of it on your own. If she doesn't want to do it, then getting a cleaner makes sense. Just say to her, either you pick up more of the slack or we get a cleaner, because I'm not doing it all by myself anymore. Like, it's always going to cause a whole lot of resentment when one person's doing everything and the other person is just doing, going to work, coming home and then doing nothing. It should be equal all the time. Otherwise, it's going to cause huge rifts in your relationship. I would just hire the cleaner personally and just not even give her a choice in that one. Am I the butthole for giving my sister 30 days notice per the rental agreement she gave me? So, my friend F23 and I, F22, found a house that gives us our own space. I currently rent from my sister a studio apartment. My sister, F26, has been talking about wanting to move with her boyfriend once his lease is done by next year. Her boyfriend lives an hour away. She offered to take me with her and let me rent again, but I'd be an hour from work if I went. And the traffic is bad there, so it would be even longer. We applied for the application, got the lease last night. So we told my sister last night. She gets mad at us and says we lied to her about looking to move. I never lied to her and informed her that if there was a house that had the space I want, I'd pick that over moving with her, and told her I was looking at houses in the area with my friend. She's claiming we screwed her over and are leaving her with the responsibility of taking care of bills she can't afford. That kind of sounds like a her problem. You don't
have any obligations to stay living there if you don't want to. She makes a lot more than me, which is why the house with more room makes more sense. I'd be paying less for more than I have now. She is now being passive aggressive and giving us silent treatment because she feels we did her wrong, but we gave her 30 days notice as any normal roommate situation would be, which is more than enough, in my opinion. And are paying extra rent to make up for how long we'd stay before having to move. I truly wonder if I've done something wrong and hurt her, because I love my sister a lot. Am I the butthole? No, you're not the butthole. You've given 30 days notice like you would in any other sort of rental agreement that you would live in. So no, absolutely not. Your sister's just mad that now she's going to have less money, I think. And I think also she's not liking the fact that you're not going to live with her anymore if you are quite close. But at the end of the day, she's just going to have to suck it up. There was going to come a point when you'd move on and move out anyway, wouldn't there? Say if you met someone or something, or if she wanted to start a family with her fella. It would be inevitable at some point anyway. She's just going to have to deal with it, I'm afraid. Okay, so the original post is co-worker asked me to be her man of honour. I said no, and she went nuts. What did I miss? This was reposted by Lucy Aria Rose, who collected all of the preceding updates and some comments as well from people who read the original post. So should be really interesting. So let's get into the meat of it, shall we? This happened yesterday, and I'm still confused. Yesterday was my first day back at work after being off for 2 weeks. This is kind of important. One of my co-workers had gotten engaged this week before I left. When she announced at work, we all did the congratulations and happy for her type of things. I thought it was over. So when I left for vacation, the last I knew, no plans had yet been made. Then yesterday, when I went back to work, my boss Kim and best friend Laura said that co-worker Claire was looking for me. I asked what was up and they weren't sure, but she was carrying a little gift bag. A few minutes later, Claire found me and asked how my vacation was. I was telling them about it and she cut me off and said she had a very important question to ask. She handed me a little gift bag and asked if I would be her best man of honour for her wedding. I thanked her and told her that typically this would traditionally go to a close female relationship. She responded that there was nothing traditional about her wedding, so it was good. I looked over at Laura and Kim, who were both trying to keep from laughing. I again thanked her and congratulated her and told her I wasn't interested in being part of her wedding party and that I would be happier being a guest in the audience. Absolutely fair. Some people really don't like to be the centre of attention either, so being like man of honour, maid of honour is not for them, especially if you have to do a speech. Oh, do you know, public speaking is my absolute worst enemy, believe it or not. I swear, when I said this, it was when we watched her entire demeanour changed and switch flipped. She went off saying that I have to be in her wedding and that she doesn't understand why I would say no. No, he doesn't have to be in it. Like, not at all. I told her that we only knew each other for a short time and I had no interest in trying to plan parties, dinner and shopping trips. She told me that I needed to think about it and she would get back to me later. I told her to go for it, but my answer will be the same. Yeah, no, absolutely. You can't really plan substantial parties and things that someone would enjoy when you have no idea what they enjoy. She walked away and I looked at Kim and Laura and asked what the ever-loving fresh creepy hell was that? Kim started to laugh and she said she didn't know. But saying no like I did might have saved me a lot of headaches in the future. Agreed. Laura made the comment that she went straight into Bridezilla, and this was a look into what she was going to be like. Absolutely. Claire came back today. However, she went with a different approach and handed me a list of what she wants me to do and her version of how she sees things. Oh, so she's basically trying to not give you an option on whether you want to do this or not. I asked her why she gave me this, and she said that as her man of honour, these were my responsibilities. I told her again that I was not going to do any of this. She started again that she needs me to do this and how fun it was going to be. Then she asked, haven't you ever wanted to be part of something special? I told her I was. I was a nurse. Enter Kim, who could sense that I needed help and told Claire one of her patients needed her help. I told Kim that if this keeps up, I might need her help. She said she was already watching it and would intervene if needed. This lady sounds like she's never been told no in her life, huh? What did I miss? We aren't that close. She just transferred down to my unit from a different unit 6 months ago. I had no idea who she was until that point. Laura is saying that she's close in age to me and she might feel that to be enough of a connection. Did I miss something? When we are asked, are we supposed to automatically gush and jump up and down in excitement? Why is saying no a bad thing? I think, yeah, obviously the expectation would be like, oh my God, thank you, yeah, I'd love to. If she was your best mate or a really close family member who you'd known for years. But just expecting you to get absolutely ecstatic over this when you don't know her, she's not right. Okay, so here's some comments from the original post. Commenter: I'm not an expert, but isn't this a HR issue now? I mean, isn't that like harassment? OP: it becomes an issue if I report it. My boss is seeing all of it so far and has said that she is watching the situation and will intervene if it keeps going. I'm off tomorrow, so I won't see her for a couple of days. What a lovely couple of days I'm sure that's going to be. Commenter: she wants to show off how different and edgy she is by having a man of honour. She may also admire your organising skills and get it done demeanour and thinks you'll throw her a great wedding related parties. OP: I'm a bad gay guy friend. I'm organised when it comes to a lot of things, but planning a wedding is something I've never done and really don't want to learn to do. If I were ever to get married, it's in midnight under a full moon at the beach with a few friends and a cookout the next day. Lol. That sounds amazing. Like, the midnight for sure under a full moon. Perhaps not the beach for me, because the thought of sand in my shoes makes me want to throw my legs out the window. But other than that, doesn't sound too bad. Commenter: okay, this is going to sound weird, but since she's advertising that it's a non-traditional wedding, is it possible that she's after you for a specific reason? Are you gay or part of a racial minority? Well, we already know that he's gay, as he's just said. It's possible she wants her wedding to look super diverse for Instagram reasons. Oh, one of those. And maybe she's after you for a specific vibe in the pictures, regardless of the reason. Not the butthole. Yeah, maybe she is one of those that's like, oh, look at me, look how accepting I am and how diverse I am. Look at me. It's like, you really are not very accepting and diverse, and maybe a kind of subconscious bigot because you're using minority groups as a token. Have we not all learned that's a bad thing? We shouldn't do that. Like, tokening minority groups is a bad thing. Like, that got figured out in the early 2000s, surely. OP: I don't know her background. Yes, I'm gay, and the entire department knows it because I was dating a former nurse and we broke up now. I'm dating someone from a different department and it's all known. All she said is it was a less than traditional wedding and it would be okay. Yesterday, K&L asked if I was afraid of something about it. Maybe if I had to wear a dress, I said I would not effing rock the dress. I might need a push-up to fill out the front of a dress if it's strapless. Lol. But I just don't want anything to do with it. I have no interest. My life is crazy enough right now, and planning a wedding would go from crazy to insane. Absolutely. And again, you really don't know this woman from Adam, so it's going to be pretty hard to plan things for her that she's going to like when you don't know a flipping thing about her. Okay, so we have our first update. Hi everyone. First, I apologise. I never thought this was going to go as crazy as it did. I want all of you to know I read all of your responses and responded to as many as I was able to. Thank you all for your amazing insights and comments. Many that made me laugh, which I needed. I have been sick and that really helped to cheer me up. I'm sorry you were feeling poorly. I'm sure you're feeling better now, but yeah, sorry you were feeling poorly. I had to meet with my lawyer today regarding family issues. Editor's note, so the person who posted all of this in Best of Redditor updates. OOP goes into detail about those issues in the other posts of his profile, but they weren't relevant here, so I didn't include them. Fair enough. Just something was going on. We'll just take it as that. My neighbour, best friend, co-worker, Laura, took me. I really felt awful and driving wasn't a good idea. We were talking about this on the way and we both were asking a lot of the same questions that all of you were asking. The big one that we were asking about the circumstances of her transfer. She went from Med-Surg 4W to the ER. I don't have a clue what any of that means. That is a huge change. I have to work tomorrow, so we will see what happens. But Laura and I are going to ask him about the transfer and raise a couple of other concerns. After I got home from the meeting with my lawyer, I slept the rest of the day. Don't blame you. Sounds exhausting. Many of you asked if Claire and I hang out outside of work. The answer is no. I really don't know anything about her. I have helped her a few times with patients and different things. but our relationship is 100% purely work related. That is why I was so surprised that she asked me about being the man of honor. I have a very small friend base, and in all honesty, I like to keep it that way. Oh, I am with you so much there. I keep my friendship circle nice and small. It's so drama free. We can all be very honest and open with each other, and it's just nice to have a small friendship group, I think, personally. I really have no interest in being part of this. I'm not a wedding person. After reading so many Bridezilla stories and hearing about the over-the-top weddings, they have become a huge turn-off for me. Spending tons of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars with insane, unrealistic demands that turn people against each other. Why? I would rather use that money and spend that time planning my next trip or vacation. Fair. I think all the time when I read these wedding posts and it's like, oh, this happened, that happened. Somebody turned up in a white dress and then somebody else poured a vat of red wine over them. I mean, it's funny and I like to listen and read it from the outside looking in, but I would not want any part of that. Many people said that I was being used as a token or a prop in a wedding. I called it. I said token, didn't I? I'm so glad everyone else saw that too. Or a gay best friend. I'd never really thought about it. I admit that I am out and proud, but I'm not going to just pretend to be someone's friend so they can fill some kind of fetish. Yes, you all know what that says. They have for wanting to have a gay best friend or some kind of status she feels the need to fulfill. It takes me a lot to get offended, but if this were actually the case, then I would be really rather offended. I was not put on the face of the earth to be someone's play toy. Absolutely, 100% agree with you. A lot of people have said that maybe she doesn't have a boyfriend. She does. She brought him in here before. If she has any insecurity, I don't understand it. She's attractive, smart, and knows her stuff, so I'm at a loss as to why she's acting like this. A lot of people say go to HR. I'm starting the process with my boss, Kim. She is completely aware of the situation, being with us when all this happened. She has told me that she is watching the situation and will jump in if I need her to. That's really good. I trust her completely. While Kim and HR can control the situation from the hospital, they can't control the situation from a personal level. If she were to maybe follow me home or a situation like that, which honestly, by the sounds of it, I wouldn't put it past her. So I think that covers it all. I wish I could say this is over, but most likely there is more to come. Set your update me. And we've got a couple of comments after the OP's update. Commenter, about the name, OOP's username. You're not just an RN, because there's nothing just about an RNs or other nurses. You folks, regardless of gender, do the medical heavy lifting, and when we can't get a straight, answer from the oh-so-busy MDs, the nurses provide the no-shite information. OOP, my name is kind of an ongoing running inside joke. I'm told at least once a day or so from a patient that I'm just a nurse. Oh yeah, my mum's a nurse and she had that so much when she was working in A&E. Like, you're just the nurse, where's the doctor? And it's like, love, the nurses literally do 90% of the heavy lifting around here. Shut up and get in bed. One day I heard it 3 times. I don't really take offence to this, and in a joking way I repeated what the patient said and my boss Kim jumped my case about it. That's not the case at all. I love my job. It's a huge part of me and who I am. It's a part of my identity. Good on you. Commenter, I'm curious about her list of demands and responsibilities. Like, did she really think you would change your mind now that you have all this BS work to do and money to spend? It's pretty much had me planning the whole thing. She wanted me to plan the bridal shower, the bachelorette party. Isn't that the same thing? I have no idea. Coordinate dress shopping and fittings and make sure everyone was having fun with the whole thing, just to name a few. Yeah, I imagine her demands were quite explicit and long. Mini update. I'll be posting an update in a day or two. Things came to a head today and it was pretty much just as everyone was saying. I need to take some time to understand everything that happened today. I also have a meeting scheduled Monday with the director of nursing at my hospital, which should bring closure, I hope. Oh dear. Cannot wait to read this next update. So, the next update. This intro is going to be long, but I'm telling you about this for a reason, and later in this update it will make sense. I'm hoping this will be done and this will be the last of this whole situation. I was born into a family where I was referred to as an issue that needed to be dealt with. I lived in the shadows of my sister, who was the child my parents wanted. They wanted one child, which was a girl. That way, Dad had his daddy's girl and Mum had Mummy's little princess. Oh, they sound insufferable. Then I came along. Keep in mind that I'm 23, so back then my parents had options but chose to not use any of those options. So instead, my parents raised my sister, and I was raised by a nanny, who even to this day is one of the biggest influences in my life, and I'm so grateful for her. She helped me with so much. I finally realised that all these years later, that by being referred to as an issue that needed to be dealt with, that they stripped me of my humanity and my individuality and my self-worth as a person. Yeah, I imagine that really would do that to you. I think that's why I have worked so hard to establish myself in my career and in my life, as a way to become a person again and not just to be an issue that needs to be dealt with. Yeah, that's absolutely horrible. I can't imagine how much that must have messed you up, like internally. Not messed you up, I'm not saying you're a mess up, but you know what I mean. Internally, that would really mess up your emotions and the way that you see yourself. Like, what an awful thing to say to your own kid. This past Thursday came to a head with the bridezilla, known as Claire, and the truth came out. My best friend Laura has been sticking close to me when we worked together if Claire was to start something. We weren't sure if she was going to leave it alone or start up again. I was really hoping that it was done, but she had to try once again. I've been sick and I had a busy morning, so I really just wanted a few minutes to go to the bathroom, grab a quick snack, and maybe breathe. Claire came up and had her list and asked if I had a few minutes to talk about the wedding planning. Oh, Claire, get a freaking grip and a hint. My goodness. I looked at her and told her again that no, that I was not interested in being part of her wedding and that I was not going to help her in any way and that she needed to drop the subject and leave me alone. Absolutely, absolutely. Again, she went into the whole thing of how I was going to do this and how much fun it was going to be. Oh, how you... Why do I feel like she's like holding some like bandage scissors to you when she's like, she went into the whole thing of how I was going to do this under threat of scissors. Like, that's how I am imagining her right now. Crazy lady. Here we go again with the line all of you loved the first time. Why in the ever-loving, fresh, creepy hell is it so important for me to be your man of honor? I'm not interested. I'm not doing it. Get a grip, Claire. I added that in. He didn't say that. It is exactly as pretty much all of you told me that it would be. She was just planning on using me as a token or a play toy. She took all of the effed up gay stereotypes that are out there in society and put them into one sentence. What modern liberal woman isn't going to have a gay bestie on her arm for her special events? Oh, she actually said that. No, Claire. Naughty, bad, down. I felt everything in my stomach move and a wave of nausea came over me and I felt like I couldn't get to the bathroom fast enough. Yeah, she's basically just treated you as an object, just like your parents did. And I can imagine that brought back a plethora of childhood trauma that you had probably done a lot of work to leave behind. This pissed Laura off to no end. Laura is really kind of like the overprotective sister that I wish I would have had and took Claire off to visit our boss Kim and laid it all out. Everything that was said. While I wasn't in on the conversation, Laura and Kim filled me in on what was said. Kim came to check on me and I was still hiding in the bathroom. She knocked on the door and asked if she could come in. I asked her for a bottle of water first. While I was waiting, I realised two things. I realised why I chose not to hang out with her and why I didn't like her. Ooh, tell. I couldn't figure out why I didn't like her, just that there was something that gave me the heebie-jeebies. But I realised that I didn't like her because she is a different version of my sister. A spoilt brat, I can imagine, no doubt. While Claire is educated and employed, she doesn't care about other people and their feelings. She is like my sister in the sense that if she wants something bad enough, she will figure out how to get it. The second thing I realised was that she did exactly what my parents did to me. She completely dehumanized me and reduced me to an entity. She absolutely did do that, and it's so flaming wrong. Just kind of turned me into a token or a thing for her. I think the word that best describes it is, I'm just a play toy. What really gets me is that just like my sister, Claire doesn't think she did anything wrong, and I'm being too sensitive and a delicate little snowflake. You are not. People like Claire are just entitled and horrid. The next day, an emergency meeting was held at work and Claire is being suspended pending investigation and a new transfer is being looked into. Kim made the request for her to be terminated. The director of emergency nursing said this was a last resort, but she was going to be looking into options which could be sending her to a new hospital or facility.
This didn't go over well with me. I asked what would happen if she did the exact same thing to someone different. She didn't really give me an answer, but she said she still needs to look into a few things, and at this point, she is suspended. Anyway, here it is. I'm still pretty sick and I had to work this weekend. If I can, I'll respond. I want to thank everyone for all the amazing support. I'm going back to my lawyer to see if I can figure out how to send her a cease and desist letter to make sure she doesn't contact me. I'm heading to bed. Have a good night. Edit. I keep forgetting to thank my boyfriend. He has been with me on this, but more in the background. First when we were laughing about it, but when everything Thursday happened, he was there as well. Elle was able to get him away from his unit for a little bit for the "it will be okay" boyfriend hug. He stayed the night with me a couple of nights as well, also helping me with being sick. So yeah, I'm very lucky to have such great support. Yeah, you definitely are very lucky to have him by the sounds of it. And also Laura and Kim, they sound like they had your back from the beginning, which is absolutely fantastic. Okay, so some comments on the end of that update. Commenter: what if she targets a vulnerable gay patient next? She's a danger and a liability for your employers to be sued. Thank you for this response. I just texted Kim and asked her about this. She said she was trying to get her fired and she was hoping this will help the purpose. Yeah, I think that Claire sounds like an absolute horror. She sounds vile, like she doesn't have any people skills. And if you're going to be working in the nursing field, which requires communicating with people when they're at their most vulnerable, she really needs to learn some people skills. What an insane story. That was crazy. And I really hope the OP is feeling okay and doing okay and feeling better after Claire brought up an absolute shitestorm of childhood trauma and just lifetime trauma, I imagine, because he's not like he doesn't still have to deal with his family to this day, I bet. So yeah, I'm really hoping that they were able to heal from the experience and also never ever have to speak to Claire again. I really hope that for the OP as well, because she sounds insane. So first off, we have, am I the butthole for telling my friend she can get back in touch when she stops being perpetually busy? So, long story short, I've had it with one of my friends. We've known each other for about 12 years, met at uni, now we're mid-30s. She's the permanently busy type. If you know, you know. Always doing something, can't be alone with her thoughts for 1 second. Hyper extroverted, etc. She's a nice person, but that pattern of compulsive busyness got on my nerves from the start. Like after we graduated, she worked part-time. That's it. For extra money, she let out the other 3 bedrooms in her house. No kids, no dogs, no serious partners, no ailing relatives. And despite working 2 to 3 days a week from 8 to 3, she was almost impossible to get hold of. I lived 30 minutes away on foot, and we'd still see each other every 3 to 4 months at best. And every time the spiel was, I know it's been ages, but I'm just so busy. A few years ago, I moved, so we're now in different countries. I tried to stay in touch via WhatsApp, but even that's fallen apart. Over the lockdown, she got married and had 2 kids, so you can imagine how hard she is to get a hold of now that she actually has responsibilities and isn't just busy being busy. So, for the past year now, our interactions have dwindled down to me sending life updates and asking about hers, and her getting back weeks later if I'm lucky. Months later, or not at all if I'm not. With a generic, sorry, been so busy, but you're in my thoughts, how are you? Meanwhile, she's still pretty active on social media and regularly posting about all the fun things she gets up to with all those other people. So, to cut a long story short, I decided that this means she's just not interested and trying to tell me nicely. I mean, how else am I supposed to take barely answering me? And if so, mostly just to remind me for the 1,000,000th time of just how busy she is, while simultaneously showing off all the things and people she does miraculously find time for. Now, here's the kicker. She messaged me about 3 months ago after my last message, once again with a generic, so sorry, so busy, how are you? And I chose not to respond. I'm over it. A month later, last week, it was my birthday, and she sent a birthday message and sounded quite upset I hadn't responded to the previous one. I responded by telling her what I said in this title. What's the point of messaging you anyway, when I already know how it's gonna go? I'll pass. Let me know if you ever get less permanently busy and can keep in touch, or more substantial level than getting back to me months later just to remind me of how busy you are. I heard through the grapevine, mutual friends, acquaintances, that she's upset at how I talked to her. But I don't think I'm in the wrong here. Am I obligated to keep making an effort for someone who just can't or won't reciprocate? And for frick's sake, isn't it bizarre to get upset when someone you clearly don't care enough about to make an effort to include in your life? Let's go. Edited to add update in comments. And we will read that update, but let's have a look at the comments first. So this first comment says, not the asshole, the friendship has changed and it's clear you two have different priorities. It sounds like you don't understand her motivations for keeping busy, and she doesn't sound like she's particularly good at carving out quality time for you. I don't think your message wasn't particularly tactful. It definitely reads as salty and bitter. I mean, your post on whole sounds that way. Yeah, it does. Friendships change as you get older, and you can either build something new that's substantial for the both of you or move along with respect and fondness for the friendship you had. Yeah, it just sounds like two people who haven't really got a compatible lifestyle, to be honest. It doesn't sound like anyone in particular is being an asshat. Like, you're not as busy as she is, but just because you don't have as busy of a schedule as she doesn't mean she can't be busy. Like you said before, oh, now she's got a family, she actually has a reason to be busy. Well, she probably had a reason to be busy before. Not everyone is the chill type. Some people just can't sit down. That's okay. Now, on the other end, this person says, you are the butthole. You come across as angry and bitter. Some people are genuinely busy. Not having a partner, kids, isn't an indicator people aren't busy, as that seems to be the only grace you offer. Yeah, exactly. Some people are just bad at communicating. Some people occasionally need time away from people and use busy as an excuse. I do that all the time. I'm so bad at keeping up with people, but I just haven't got the mental energy half the time. Your comments just reinforce how bitter you actually are as well. Busy shtick. So here's that update from the OP. Whoa, so this has been a learning experience. Thank you all for your perspectives. I didn't expect this to blow up like that. I'll try to respond to everyone, but it could be tricky with how fast the comments are pouring in and my not so great attention span. Ironic in a post when I'm bitching about someone being busy, huh? Yeah, very ironic. So, the main things I took away were, I should address the issue like that more head on and earlier before they fester it into a whole ugly feelings bomb. Yes, absolutely. 2, I did in fact feel some contempt for her constant talking of how busy she was. When most of it was self-selected, it felt like a martyr act. And envy for how I was constantly prioritised below other things. Yeah, which is understandable. Pain for being called friend while not being given what I would consider the friend treatment, like space in someone's life. And resentment for feeling like I'm being treated like an idiot who somehow can't tell I'm so busy, followed by 17 TikToks, is just code for I'm not that bothered. 3, a friendship that has any significant contempt, resentment, envy, anger, or any other negative feeling is not the look when you're in your 30s. Absolutely. 4, I am still pretty harsh, even when, in my perception, I'm pulling my punches. And if so, many other people see that. I guess it's more likely that I really do have more aggression than I think, than that they are all overreacting. Yeah, I think you're just very easily offended by this, and she's just someone who's always on the go. And I just think you're just not compatible as friends, really. 5, many people on Reddit can't read. Many people on the internet can't read. I mean, sometimes I miss things too. It's human nature. There were a lot of insightful comments and questions that made me think hard about myself, but there were also plenty that completely missed the point and or put words in my mouth. Thank you all. Edited to add, thank you for the awards. I'm humbled. Yeah, I think realistically what's going on here is you're getting too offended and you're thinking that it's like something that she's doing on purpose to slight you, whereas I think she's just the sort of person that's always on the go and likes to be with other people that are always on the go too, which is why obviously she seems to be doing all sorts with other people but not too much with you. It's just one of those things where you are two very, very different people, and sometimes a friendship just can't be maintained in that sense. Sometimes opposites are great, other times not so much. I'm iffy on this one. I'm not sure whether you're the butthole or not. I think it's a bit of both. Next post, would I be the butthole if I don't tell her that the chocolate contains sugar? Hello, my partner, F, in her 30s, is quite into sport and not much into sweets. She stopped eating added sugar completely about a year ago. She doesn't have a medical constitution, but just realised that she's doing way better without sugar. She also doesn't restrict my eating. For example, when we went for a fancy cake place I wanted to go to, she also ate cake. but was feeling a little nauseous afterwards. So she's not completely strict, as sometimes she enjoys honey or if I bake something. Example. Now to my dilemma. Every weekend she makes coffee for us and does a special blend. When she made it before, she used cocoa powder, but changed to dark chocolate shavings. It's really, really nice, but I realised some days ago that she doesn't know that there's sugar in them. She eats her yogurt topped with them and is beaming with joy when telling me they don't contain sugar. They do. She just had the wrong column when checking them. I really love seeing her happy, and I researched before, and the chocolate shavings without sugar are 1, expensive, and 2, I'm actually not able to eat them due to intolerance. I also really support her otherwise when cooking, baking, etc. I check twice as not to include sugar. I realise, on the other hand, that she's mostly checking for glucose and doesn't care about fructose. Sugar's sugar though. It's all sugar. So, would I be the butthole if I don't tell her that there's sugar in her newfound joy? Edit to fix typos. 2. Edit. Thanks guys, I just needed a nudge to make the right decision. I'm at her place tomorrow and I will talk to her. Yeah, because you do need to say to her, because if she's making a conscious choice not to eat it and she hasn't realised and you have, the right thing to do would just be like, oh, you realise this has sugar in it, right? She could just make yours with those ones and then she could have the alternative without sugar in. There's no biggie. If you're intolerant, then you could just use both. You don't have to be one or the other. 3rd edit. To clarify, yes, she knows that there are no different types of sugar. As I mentioned before, it's about added glucose. Yes, she knows that there are different types of sugar. As I mentioned before, it's about added glucose. Yes, she is capable of reading. No, she's not stupid, as the package has 2 different columns as it's baking chocolate, and one type of them has no added sugar but sweetener. Yes, I know that there are also health risks when consuming too much sweetener. It was a simple question, guys. Yeah, fair enough. So in the comments we have info. Why not just say, I think dark chocolate still has a little bit of sugar in it, and leave it at that. Someone else says, hey sweetheart, I was just reading the back of the packet and apparently has 1 milligram of sugar per kilogram. I didn't notice that when I read the first time, so that's what they're suggesting to say. And then someone else commented, but she isn't a sweetheart because she barely eats sugar. Next post, am I the butthole for choosing not to spend my day off with my family? I, 43am, and my wife, 40f, have 2 sons, 10 and 14-year-old. We both work from 9am to 5 to 6pm, even later sometimes. The boys have after-school activities almost every day, so after work we usually drive them to or from somewhere. Then there's the helping with homework, cooking, house chores, etc. The weekends, though, less busy, are also filled with chores, driving, visiting family, and such. In sum, we have little time for ourselves as a couple and almost no time alone individually. Yeah, and you need that time alone, especially when you have kids. It's good to have some time alone or time to yourselves. It does your brain good. This year, my company is giving everybody their birthday off. What a good company! You don't hear of places doing that very often, do you? Mine is a Monday a couple of weeks from now. When I told my family this, they were excited. My wife said that I should swing by her workplace in order for us to have lunch together. The kids said that I should pick them up from school to have lunch. I said sorry, but I was planning on having the day to myself. Yes, sometimes you have to prioritize time to yourself and people need to understand that. They were a bit disappointed and I felt a bit guilty. I love my family, but I was planning on going near the beach, walk a bit, have a nice meal, enjoying the ocean view, hearing no other sounds but the waves and the seagulls. Besides, I'll be spending my actual birthday with them. We're going away for the weekend. So Reddit, am I the butthole for being kind of selfish and wanting to spend a day alone? Let me tell you, as a parent, no you are not, absolutely not. It is really good to have that time to yourself. Time alone does your mental health the world of good, and then you can be a better parent and partner for it. So no, I don't think it's selfish at all. So let's have a look at the comments and see what they think. So the top comment says, not the asshole. I love my family dearly and also believe wholeheartedly in time to ourselves once in a while. Absolutely. I usually take 1 day a year, but sometimes 2 to not be around anybody. It sounds like they're sad because they would like to spend some special time with you, so make the time another day if you can. Their reactions are mild and not asshole-ish. They'll get over it. Yeah, exactly. They'll get over it. Make some time another day. Say to them, oh, we'll go and do something nice another day. I just need this day for me, please. And then another commenter said, they are absolutely not the butthole. They didn't get angry or even very sad, just a bit disappointed, because the OP spelled disappointed. That did make me chuckle a little bit. Okay, last post for the day. Am I the butthole for telling my dad he chose between me and his fiancée when he prioritised her surgery over mine? I, 17F, have had a rocky relationship with my dad. My parents married after I was born, hoping to provide a stable family for me. But they divorced when I was 11 after my dad went to rehab, and things only worsened from there. During rehab, he met his current fiancée, and they later had a kid, 6F. Since then, my dad has been mostly absent from my life. Whenever I have important events, he either has an excuse or doesn't show. I'd estimate he's been present for less than half of my events since their divorce. A few years ago, I was diagnosed with scoliosis, and initially, surgery wasn't needed. However, my condition got worse, and I was finally scheduled for surgery on 11/20 this year. I told my dad about it months ago, expressing how much I needed his support this time, and he promised he'd be there. But later, he texted to say he planned a vacation that would keep him away until mid-December, just as my recovery period would be ending. It broke my heart, but I accepted it. What an asshat. Your dad is an asshat already just from reading that. Then, 2 hurricanes hit his vacation spot, and he told me he'd make my surgery. I felt a glimmer of hope, but then just a week before my surgery, he texted again saying his fiance's lung cancer surgery had been scheduled for the same day, a few weeks before mine, at a hospital 30 minutes away. He said he might not make it to my surgery, but with him, might not usually means won't. Yeah, it's basically a softer way of saying, I ain't coming. That is what that is. He added this wasn't about who he loved more. That message shattered me. I realised that no matter how much I hoped, he might never give me the attention and support I needed. I broke down on my kitchen floor that day. Oh, that's so sad. After sitting with my feelings, I texted him to tell him how deeply his actions hurt me. I said it wasn't only about love, but about showing care, and that he'd given me hope only to let me down again. I questioned if his fiance's surgery had really been scheduled last minute, or if he had known about it earlier but hadn't told me. I asked him to show me he was my dad through his actions, not just his words. He responded, insisting the surgery was only scheduled the day he'd told me, but because he'd lied in the past to save face, I reached out to someone who might know the truth. Now, I will interject to add here that sometimes when it comes to cancers and things like that, when they pop up, sometimes they will schedule put my teeth back in. Sometimes they will schedule surgery the same day so that they're doing it, they're dealing with it, they're getting it quickly. I know there's been a few times that I've heard of it happening here in the UK. I don't know where this person's from, but I have heard of that happening before, where they've gone in for results and they've said, right, this is your result and you are being scheduled for surgery today. Come back in X amount of days and we'll do it. So it can go through that quickly, to be fair, but we'll see if this is the case. I then sent a follow-up message clarifying that my frustrations wasn't with his fiancée, it was with his ongoing absence and lack of support. I said that even if his reasons were genuine, he could have at least shown some empathy. I told him I'd hoped he'd be a better father for my half-sister than he has been for me. In a final message, I made it clear that I was done putting in all the effort to maintain our relationship on my own. I told him that if he wanted to be my dad, I would gladly be his daughter, but if he chose not to, I would be fine with that too. Yeah, a very grown-up response as well. You've just laid it out flat. You said, this is what I expected. You have not done what you should do as a father. I am no longer putting in that effort. If you want to do it, you prove you can do it. But otherwise, no, I'm done. Absolutely, completely agree with that. He hasn't responded. And honestly, I'd prefer he sit with what I've said. For once, I hope he really thinks about his actions and the impact they've had on me. So, am I the butthole? No, you are not. I think it says frickin' volumes that he's not responded. What a disgusting and crap excuse for a parent he is. If one of my kids came to me when they're older and said, you've really upset me, you've done this and it's hurt me, and it was something that I'd done and really I was in the wrong. And even if I wasn't in the wrong, I'd be like, I'm really sorry that my actions hurt you. I didn't mean it that way. I'm really, really sorry. Let me make it up to you. And if it was that it turns out what I had done was wrong, I'd be on my knees groveling for them to forgive me. I would be so upset that I'd made them so upset. I would be doing everything I could to make it better and taking full blame and accountability. But as we read far too often, clearly this dad is just an absolute deadbeat, which is unfortunate for the OP. So in the comments, Chilling Storm commented saying, girl, your father hasn't shown up for you your entire life. What makes you think he is going to do it now? And furthermore, why do you allow him to have that power over you? He is not your father. He is the male who impregnated your mother. Stop elevating him to father status. The man is going to support the person who is making his life with, not the child he walked away from years ago. He doesn't prioritize you. He never will. no matter what words he uses or promises he makes. Good luck with your surgery and focus on your recovery. Yeah, I completely agree what they've said there. Maybe a bit harsh way to say it. maybe there's a nicer way to say that, but I do agree 100% with the sentiment. He's never shown up. He's never shown he will. Stop giving him your energy, because this guy does not deserve an ounce of it. And again, yeah, I reiterate that sentiment. I hope your surgery went well and your recovery is going well too. So this post is titled, "The Barbie movie made me realise my mother never truly loved me and never will." That is an ominous title. On mobile, so excuse typos or formatting issues. Spoilers and NSFW just in case. I am in my 30s, F, and moved back home last year due to a million reasons. During this time back, I realised how my relationship is with my mother, and always has been. It's not great and we fight a lot. I know and have known I'm not the child she thought I'd be. I have mental disorders, I'm fat, and others. That doesn't make any difference to how she should have treated you at all. Last December, during an argument, she told me that my mental illness that I truly work hard to control, 10 plus years in consistent and intense therapy, triggers her childhood trauma because her mum has the same disorders. What? I've always been compared to her, but this just changed something in me, and it's been harder since. I doubt she even remembers saying it. Back to the title. I actually watched the Barbie movie with her yesterday, and watching the relationship between America Ferrera's character and the daughter was something I wish I had. I wish I had a mum that cared, that loved me, and that I was just a kid that didn't realise how much she does. I think part of me hoped my mum would see that and realise maybe just love me because I had heard that was a reaction daughters had. When I cried realising this, she actually laughed at my emotions but did not know that's why I was crying. That's really harsh. My mother only shows love when I can do something for her, and really that's not often. I'm always reminded of what she gave up for me and how me in the past bringing up things that hurts me hurts her because I'm never positive. It's always been what I don't do. I've spent years trying to rationalise why I never feel enough. Her mother was awful to her, still is, and I always told myself that's why. I'm her only daughter. It just breaks me really. I realised the relationship was only made worse by me moving home because I stopped begging my mum to love me. I stopped doing everything I can for her affection. I've been making plans and efforts in silence to move and go low contact. No contact. But I have things I have to do before I can. But after watching the movie, it's just confirmed why I need to do that. Yeah, it sounds like low contact or no contact would really be good for your mental health, because it is not good that you feel like this all the time and you clearly are just stepping on eggshells or being overly affectionate just for a crumb of attention, acknowledgement, and no one wants to feel like that. I cannot keep eating glass for her to feel good about herself as a mother. Anyway, TLDR, I wish my mum loved me, but the Barbie movie made me realise she'll never be able to. Okay, so for context now, I'm assuming that this is where OP was replying to just a lot of comments about the same thing. So, OOP on her mother's love language and affection towards her. OOP, I hope no one downvotes you, but yes, there are things good she's done. Unfortunately, basically none of them came with no strings. There's always a catch, with every single person beyond me. It's also gotten worse as I've aged because of my ability and courage to push back. Things that she felt before she could just dismiss and tell me I'm wrong was not something that I'd believe. She used to be able to yell at me to get me to react, and then it'll flip to I'm unreasonable. I don't yell anymore, and it messes with her. I will always remember the nice things she's done when I choose to think of her. But I won't forget what price was paid for those nice things, and what it cost me. Yeah, well that's it. It's, at the end of the day, if you're having to sit there and tread on eggshells and alter your behaviour to get her to be nice, and then when you bring up issues, she basically does something to twist it back round on you. It just says everything about her, doesn't it, really? She's clearly a bit of a narcissist, one of those. And they don't make good parents, I'm afraid. They really don't. Unless they do a lot of work on themselves, they really don't. I can tell you that much for free. OP on her grandma's affection on the mum-daughter. So I'm assuming this is in reply to a comment asking about what her grandma was like. OP, oh my god, yes, my grandma is worse than my mum, and I get that. I've also watched my mum do the same thing I do, kind of, growing up, and I think that is what hurts me the most, is she knows how shite is, and she repeats patterns. I've begged her along with my entire family to seek therapy, because I truly believe if she did, while painful to deal with, not only the insane childhood she had, but the realization she did it to her children, I think it would heal our entire family. She refuses. I can't tell you how many times she's gone to 1, maybe 2 sessions with people before an excuse is made. Last time was, I know more than her, she can't help me. Yeah, again, this is another thing that you find with narcissistic parents is they think they are above everyone. They think that they know best. And then when a big spotlight is shone on the ways that they are not doing what they should be and the things that they have been doing wrong, they turn it back on everyone else, or they say, I know more than you, or they completely just shut down and will not communicate whatsoever. It is impossible to deal with someone like that until they have actively sought the help themselves to get better, because they will just shut down, or they will refuse, or they will blow up, and you will never get anywhere with them. They have to work on themselves before you can ever work on a relationship with them, unfortunately. And if they're not willing to work on themselves, that's when you have to go, well, I will probably have to step back because this is never going to get better and this is not good for my mental health. Okay, so we're getting into update territory now. Around a year ago, I made a post about how I watched the Barbie movie with my mum and realised the lack of love she had for me. I saw it make its way to TikTok and decided to update. First, I want to thank everyone who commented. I really only got a few negative comments, which to me was surprising. Yeah, this is the internet after all. You could be the most innocent, most lovely person ever, and someone is still going to come on and tell you that you are a seething, sweaty cesspool of a butthole. So you can never do right in everyone's eyes. So no, that's pretty good that you didn't get many negative comments. But even those I appreciated, exactly, because sometimes within those negative comments that you can get a bit of a different perspective and they can help you kind of bring together the picture that you're trying to get a grip on. Now, to the update. It's actually a happy update. Oh, good! In October of last year, my grandmother, who I mentioned, passed away. And I joked with friends how her passing restored peace to the land. Lol. Honestly, with some people, it do be like that. She was a pretty awful person, so it's okay if you laugh at that. During the aftermath of that, my mum and I became a team to take care of my grandpa, and it started to heal us. That is so good. And all that actually set the stage for our relationship to better. I ended up in treatment for ED in December of last year. My ED was rough, but because I'm fat, I was worried she wouldn't believe the struggles. My mother was the one person I was afraid wouldn't support me, and understandably so. But she was actually the biggest supporter I had. I was gone for 3 months in a city about an hour and a half away, staying in a condo near the place I did treatment. She called me every other day just to check in. She helped financially since I was out of work during that time. That is so good. She never once made me feel bad or that I was faking, which she had done in my teens, early 20s. When I came home, she continued that. She went to therapy for the first time on her own. We finally talked about everything. I brought up the movie and my reaction. She understood and apologised about her treatment of me. And beyond the words, she continues to make efforts. She still asks me how my food relationship is. She makes sure I'm taking care of myself, and she tells me she loves me and is proud of me a lot. Things have also changed in terms of her other kids, my siblings and my dad and stepmom, and it's something we all appreciate. She is trying. Yeah, she's clearly making a big effort, and that's so good. I'm so glad she is finally managed to get over what blockade, whatever it was in her mind, was stopping her from realizing that she was in the wrong, she needed to do more. And you can't change the past. Actions of hers now need to be considered from now moving forward. She can't change the past, she can only apologize for it, but she can prove to you with her actions that she is making a big effort to change. While it's not perfect, I still will forever be closer to my stepmom, her wife, but I feel like I can talk to my mum about things I never could before. So honestly, my grandmother dying really restored peace to our family. I doubt anyone will see this update, but who knows? Yeah, clearly, I mean, it sounds awful to say that your grandmother dying has helped your mum, but clearly it has. Obviously, there was a lot of trauma associated with your grandmother on your mum's behalf, and it was making her into a worse person. And obviously now that your grandmother has passed on, your mum feels relieved, in some sort of way, I would assume. By the way she's acting now, it's like a big negative weight has been lifted, which is an awful thing to say. But sometimes it's like that, isn't it? Okay, so I'll just read a comment from the comments. It's really nice to hear when people acknowledge their problems and then work on them. It brings hope to the world. Also a reminder that even the most unexpected of people can change in unexpected ways. OP, exactly. It truly wasn't something I thought would happen, but I'm glad it did. I have a huge blended family, and had I cut her off completely, had she not done change, I would have pretty much lost everyone. Usually these are quite long, these Best of Redditor Updates posts, but that one wasn't too long, so to make the video at least 20 minutes, I'm going to do another one. So this one was posted by Direct Caterpillar 77, so they compiled it. I think I accidentally cut off the user on the last one, so I couldn't see it. So yeah, apologies for that. But this one is me, 21F, with the family I nanny for. The son, 13M's behaviour is starting to creep me out, but I'm not sure if it is actually inappropriate or just a cultural difference. This should be interesting. I've always thought being a nanny must be like a really freaky job because you're in someone else's house, like a stranger's house essentially. I don't think I'd like that. Okay, so hey there, using a throwaway just in case. So I'm from the US and recently moved to Italy to nanny. I feel this is important because so far I have not been able to tell if I'm struggling with a cultural difference in Italy or if I actually have a reason to be weirded out. It is easy to tell that the son, Dario, is in middle school, as he's already several inches taller than me and his mum, and has maybe 30 pounds on me. When I first got here, some of the stuff that freaked me out a little I could handle, and I chalked it up to being an Italy thing. This includes stuff like talking almost exclusively in a baby voice when addressing his parents, calling his parents mummy and daddy, fighting physically with his little sister over who gets to sit on mum and dad's lap multiple times throughout the day, fighting with the sister over who gets to sleep with the parents, getting extremely upset when mum or dad leaves for the day, and whining about not getting enough kisses or time laying in bed, kissing with mum, and having his parents blow on chewed food in his mouth because it's too hot. In his mouth! Blowing in his mouth! I'm sorry, I've probably just made that sound really awful down the microphone, but in his mouth! Not like on the fork. Like, he can't blow on his own food. How old was this kid again? Let's just double check that. It doesn't say. It says middle school, though. So, like, over here, middle school, you'd be about, like, 10, between, like, 7 and 10, maybe. Ew! Why are you blowing in the kid's flaming mouth? Like, don't get me wrong, my youngest is 7, and likes to cuddle, is like constantly coming up like, "Mummy, can I have a cuddle?" But doesn't talk to me in a baby voice. Sometimes we'll put on a baby voice like when just trying to be silly, but not all the time, and not physically fighting with their sibling who gets my attention. Like, this is weird. Surely this is not a cultural thing. Surely this is just weird. Now, I really don't want to be critical of this if it's normal here, you know? I don't think that's normal anywhere. But in the US, I seriously can't imagine a single 7th grade boy engaging in any of these behaviours. So it's really new to me. And really, it hadn't affected me, so I just let it be. The problem is that now I'm starting to get involved and it's making me really uncomfortable. Yeah, it would make me really uncomfortable. Let's have a look just now and see what age a kid would be if they are 7th grade. Where's good old Google? What age is 7th grade USA? 12 to 13. 12 to 13. No. Stop it. That's disgusting. Blowing in their mouth as well. That's disgusting at any age, I think. But what? Wanting to go and kiss all over their mum in bed? Like, oh no, this is not normal. I'm sorry, but no. I'm going to have to go and give my eyes a bath after I've finished reading this, I think. For example, our rooms have adjacent windows which allow the kids to see my entire room at all times. What? To me, this is pretty inappropriate. What am I supposed to do when I need to change clothes? But I also don't want to seem like I'm sexualizing children or accusing them of anything, so I just politely asked for curtains and took to changing in the bathroom. Yeah, no, I wouldn't like that at all. I'd feel like a flaming animal in a zoo on show.
That's not normal, surely. I'm questioning this whole family, not gonna lie. After weeks without curtains, the family finally promised me that someone was coming to put them up. Well, he only put them in the kids' room. What? Ever since then, I find Dario peeping through the curtains at me multiple times a day. Yeah, I'm sure he blooming is as well. Now, I'm sure he is just checking on me. I don't think he is. Or curious about what I'm up to, but it makes me so uncomfortable. I didn't want to tell the family though, because I'm afraid they would think I'm accusing their baby of like trying to spy on me changing. So I just took matters into my own hands and hung a blanket up over my window. This whole family is freaking weird. No, what the hell? Get out of there. This is like some premise for some kind of horror film, I swear. No amount of money or wanting a good reference on your CV is worth this. Believe me, just get out. Another issue has been when we stay at the kids' grandparents' house. There is a room for the parents with a bed for the one child and a room for me with a bed for one child. I figured we would split up, boys and girls, and I would stay with the daughter, but nighttime rolls around and Dario is crawling into bed next to mine. I was so uncomfortable. I could hardly sleep. I have talked to my friends at home about this and they all think it's really weird, because it is. Because we aren't related and he's a teenager now. Exactly, he is a teenager. He knows better. At 13, 12 to 13, kids are extraordinarily aware. They're not stupid. They know much better than this. This is creepy. But this is, of course, an American opinion, so I can't tell for sure if we're imposing our ideas on this family. Well, I'm going to give you a British opinion, and I think it's fucking weird as well. Again, if this really is a cultural thing, though, I don't know how to tell the family that where I am from, it's kind of inappropriate for a boy so old to be sleeping next to me. Especially when he's been spying on me lately, without causing issues. Yeah, no, this is so weird. I'm getting horror movie vibes, I'm not gonna lie. Of course, these behaviours affect other aspects of our life as well, as it's hard to get Dario to do anything because he usually claims it's too hard to do. Making a bed at 13? Too hard. Are you kidding? And I often find myself wanting to tell him to grow up. What I need help with is knowing whether he does need to grow up or if all of this behaviour is normal here, and am I the crazy American that needs to adjust? Is this behaviour normal for a 12-year-old or is it immature? I feel like the parents still really see him as a young child and usually he acts like it. But for the most part, it seems like he plays up the baby act because he knows it makes his parents cater to him more. If this is all abnormal, does anyone have any suggestions on how to bring this up to the family? Yeah, I have a suggestion. What you do is you write a letter saying, I quit and this is why. You're all weird. Your kid's odd. I'm getting creeped out. Please get him therapy or he's going to end up in the news when he's older. Thank you. Edit. Just want to clarify that at the grandparents' house, there are 2 beds and they are next to each other. Dario was not in my bed, but in the bed next to me. TLDR, I nanny for a boy, 13M, whose behaviour makes me uncomfortable. I'm not sure if he is actually being inappropriate or if there is a large cultural difference between my country and this country. I genuinely think that it's just a case of bad parenting, not teaching him boundaries. He does not know boundaries, and for his age, that is extraordinarily worrying. And I swear if I see anyone say, oh, well, he might be autistic or he might have ADHD, I'm sorry. But that doesn't mean that you just let behaviours like that slide. No matter what the situation is, you just don't. It's not an excuse for inappropriate behaviour. And the parents, whether there is a reason, like they're going to say, oh, he's autistic or whatever, even if they said that that was the reason, the parents are clearly encouraging it because they're going along with it. They're not correcting the behaviour and saying, oh, no, we don't do that. And they are also, for the smallest thing they could have done to help, not even helping by putting some flaming curtains up in her room. So, yeah, I don't think it's anything to do with anything like that. I think it's just crappy parenting. Getting into some comments now. B186, we've established this kid's behaviour is weird, but what the F at the parents responding to your request for privacy curtains by giving them to the child? OP, I have no clue. They've been really weird about some stuff, like this. This is TMI, but the mum knew I was on my period because I had to ask where to buy tampons, and we get to the house and there's no trash can in the bathroom or in my room. I asked for one multiple times.
and she said she would get one and never did. And when I asked last, she said, well, the kids have a trash can in their room if you need it. Ooh, no, God, no. Don't be putting stuff like that in the kids' bedroom bins. I can imagine that little lad will just go rummaging through it because clearly, again, he has not been taught boundaries. Like, what the F? Are you not an adult woman? Do you not understand how this works? Exactly. And then I'm guessing these are some responses to frequently asked questions. Do the parents discipline the kids? I asked about discipline when I interviewed, and they said they don't really have to discipline the kids. Well, there we go. I should have taken it as a warning sign. Honestly, the mum is very strict about some stuff, so they're very good in certain areas that she deems important. Etiquette, cleanliness. I'm not sure we've seen any proof that they're good with etiquette. Because blowing in someone's mouth at the dinner table is not good etiquette. But when Dario picks on the daughter, they just let the kids yell and scream and cry until I step in. They also seem to encourage many of Dario's rude comments because technically he does word them politely. Oh, okay. So I could go down outside right now and be like, hello, good sir, you are an absolute bellend. Good day. And that's okay? Is it? Just to anyone outside that I come across, yeah? I don't think it works that way. For example, I will bust my ass making a meal for the whole family. To be kind and helpful, it's not in my job description. And Dario will eat 4 plates of it and then say, I'm sorry, but why would you cook this like that? And I'll say, that's how we cook it in the US. And he'll say, well, I don't like it. The Italian way is much better. And then put his plate on mine for me to take it to the kitchen and leave. No, thanks for cooking. No, but I did like this part. Just insult, clean my plate, bye. He loves to criticize. Oh, I don't like this family very much. Is the child autistic? Yeah, I had a feeling this question would come up because for some reason I've noticed on the internet now, people make excuses for bad behaviour in kids by saying, oh, well, are they neurodiverse? Neurodiverse doesn't mean you're going to grow up to be an absolute twat. Neurodiverse means that you're going to struggle with certain things, but you absolutely can learn them, but you are going to struggle. It doesn't mean that you are inherently rude, bad, or anything. And I think that labelling kids that are neurodiverse or labelling kids that do bad things or have bad behaviours as neurodiverse without knowing if they are or not speaks volumes to how the collective consciousness views autistic kids, and it is not good. Anyway, rant over. I thought about the autism initially, but I'm fairly certain it isn't that because when the parents are gone, the baby act completely turns off. And he acts like any other teenager, albeit manipulative and critical, I have ever known. And I have worked in childcare, in the classroom, and as a coach for years now. Hi all, I'm back. Wow, how long has it been? 3 to 4 months later with an update. Long story short, I quit. Oh, I'm so glad. I am so glad you quit. I thought we were going to see you on the news. Here's the long version for those interested. The curtain issue. Like I said in my last post, I had just hung a blanket for privacy, and since there have been no peeping issues, I asked 2 more times for curtains and was reassured both times that the curtains man would come to hang them in my room. He did come back and hung more curtains in the kids' room, but again, not in mine. What? So now they're just layering them up? It's almost like they're trying to make a point that no, you're not allowed curtains. You have to let my peeping Tom of a son look at you. Then I was told that they didn't like them and would be finding another curtain guy to hang my curtains. It's been 4 months, no more mention of it. I still use the blanket. The vacation issue. I have simply refused to go on vacation with them. I'm off on weekends and I've reached a point where I just refuse to be home for the entire weekend and manage not to see them from Friday night until Monday morning if I can help it. I go on weekend trips, crash on couches, sneak into my room when they're eating, things like that, just to avoid seeing anyone on my days off. The Dario issue? Dario still acts extremely immaturely. I've warmed up to him a lot, and I've figured out how to cut his rudeness and such. He's become a lot more positive and kind, especially because his mum has been gone a lot and he's been with me every day. I'm very upbeat and have worked really hard to get him to socialise and speak kindly. Unfortunately, he seems to almost have regressed in terms of childish behaviour. He still sits on laps, kisses a lot and sleeps with a parent when the other is gone. The baby talk is constant. For example, he loves to repeat back butchered syllables of words, if that makes sense. Like his dad will say, Pasami unchit. I'm not going to try and say that. Pass me a spoon. And he will clap and exclaim, Ayo, or whatever that says, do you want water? And he'll go, quack, quack. Oh my God. I'm not even going to try. You can read it yourself. It's on the screen.
I'm going to make an absolute fool of myself. He also had started eating kind of like a baby too. Like, he'll take the remaining tomato sauce that we used on the pasta and use the giant spoon to drink it out of the pot and get it all over his face and then suck on each of his fingers. Oh. But when I look at his parents, they're looking at him like when you see a cute baby trying to use a fork and getting food on his face. But he's 13, so it's honestly sickening to watch and listen to. Yeah, I bet. He won't lock the door when he goes to the bathroom or showers. Why? I started locking the door when I was like 7. And he even cried the other day when his sister sat on the foot of his bed. He doesn't like things touching his bed. And guess what? The parents got mad at the daughter, said it was her fault for baiting him. She just had to tie her shoe for a second and declared that it's her fault. Dario will be upset all night. He just sounds like a spoiled brat, doesn't he? He also hasn't made any progress with friends and has taken to playing League of Legends, so he won't leave his room or do any activities or lessons with me or his sister. It's pretty sad, honestly. Yeah, see, I think there's something going on with him that started off probably some of the issues, but he's never been corrected. So now he's just got worse and worse, and he does know better to a degree. I will guarantee you that. A lot of kids do, whether they're neurodiverse or not. They know better, but if they're not corrected, then they're going to keep just doing the things that they aren't corrected on, aren't they? The hardest part of this whole thing has been the mother. I won't even go into it here, but she's honestly clinically insane, and I feel so bad for all the people in the house that have to put up with her. She's just a power-hungry, jealous, bitter woman who needs to see a professional. Basically, I went home for Christmas to be with my family and realised how bad this experience was for my health. I was going out drinking almost every night to escape the house. I was sleeping horribly because I knew she was here, and her presence gave me an awful anxiety. I was getting yelled at every day, even when I did nothing wrong. I was at home in the States, and the thought of going back made me absolutely miserable. So when I came back, I told them I needed to go back early for medical reasons. Not totally untrue. And now I'm set to leave the last week of March. They've found a new girl. Look out for a post here sometime in the future. TLDR, Dario is still acting like a baby. The mum is still crazy. And I effing quit, homie. Get me out of here. Love that. On that insane, absolutely insane note, I think we're going to leave it there for today. That was just, I'm still struggling to get my head around that. Honest goodness, I think maybe there could be something going on with Dario, but I genuinely just think that it was bad parenting. Because the proof's in the pudding. If the mum's absolutely crackers, it says it all, doesn't it? But yeah, we're going to leave it there for today. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed hearing me losing my flaming marbles through that last story. And if you have made it to the end, then I thank you very, very much. Feel free to give me a like and subscribe because that does help me in the algorithms, and you can then find your way back here for more stories, can't you? Other than that, I'm going to get off and go and wash my eyeballs. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.